Welcome, friends and family, to the Local Acts Only podcast. I'm here with Lee Ferejohn and my good buddy Joe. As always,
Howdy
I am
ho.
Jack. How you doing, Lee?
I'm doing good, dude. How are you guys? How are you doing?
Doing
just
great.
dandy.
Yeah,
Nice.
we
Excited
just
for this
discussed earlier, but this episode of the podcast is just going to be Lee asking us questions.
Just trying to make sure your hosts are feeling good. No one's ever checking on them.
No one asks us how we're doing. What the fuck? So to get right into it, I think me and Joe wanted to start with the EP that you released recently.
Cool.
Secrets EP. It's on Bandcamp. Only Bandcamp, right?
Bandcamp is the only spot that it's at right now. I'm definitely going to be getting it up onto Spotify. I've just been working on some like acoustic music recently, like another album. So I could just kind of put them out at the same time,
Mighty
Get them
nice.
going on the streaming platforms. All that
Album?
good stuff. Yeah, definitely the acoustic stuff is going to have a couple more songs on it.
Ooh,
Nice.
I like it. Like it's good. So a full acoustic album.
Pretty much. I mean, it's pretty stripped down. It's all inspired by like the quarantine, being locked up and stuff. So this one is more like just me, just guitars, just vocals, So it's pretty easy to track and everything,
Nice.
But yeah, definitely a couple extra tunes on that one.
Rough, like how many songs would a rough estimate?
Probably between 8 and 10. I have like 12 songs tracked, but I don't know if I want to use all of them.
If
yet,
you're gonna, yeah.
Some of them I feel like maybe the full kind of electric version of the song will be better,
Right.
I
Gotcha.
don't know. We'll see.
It'd be like that. That's how it goes.
But stay tuned.
Yeah. So you just said all by yourself. Was Secrets not all by yourself? I thought.
No, that was definitely all me as well.
Okay.
But I did a little bit of like programming. Like I didn't play live drums on it or anything like that. Whereas the acoustic album is gonna be, it's all like live instrumentation and stuff.
Mm.
Gotcha. Yeah. I mean, I found that I was taken back when I heard this. I was like, because I was told that it was all you doing. I was like, Lee can sing. Oh my god, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That was really good. Yeah, you have a good voice, bro.
Thanks, I appreciate it.
But I was really enjoying and got hit real good by the vibes of Secrets,
Yeah.
or The Secret. Very contemporary jam band, like funky kind of vibes. Gave me.
Yeah, it definitely was getting into the funky music at that time.
Yeah.
For sure.
I loved it. What?
Like the envelope filters and stuff like that.
Yeah, of course. The classic is a
For
staple.
sure.
What kind of like vibes were you aiming for when it comes to like bands? Because I picked up on like, it sounded like pigeons playing ping pong, some fish in there, and
Definitely,
around those
definitely
areas.
Pigeons playing ping pong and Wolfpack are like bands that I've been listening to a lot within the last like year or two.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the funky music, it's just like such like feel good stuff. Like it makes me like want to party and stuff.
Hell yeah.
So a lot of the music that I write is like more kind of introspective stuff, like the stuff that I have vocals on. You can tell it's not as like much of like a party time kind of vibe.
Yeah.
So with the instrumental stuff, I really like to get a little funky, get a little bit more happy with it.
Of course, you gotta do that sometimes. It's
For
cool
sure.
that you use the word introspective too, because I took a note of that. I was like halfway into this album, the second half kind of gets more mellow, not sad, but mellow, and just like really steered like heavily away from that contemporary jam vibe. And like the first thing I thought of was kind of reminded me of Joni Mitchell a little bit.
That's interesting. It
Just
definitely gets more of that acoustic kind of folk, like
right.
indie folk sort of thing going.
Yeah, and I dig it. It was very just chill. I like it, and you were able to do it pretty seemingly, seamlessly. Is that the right word?
Yeah.
Seamlessly. I'm gonna say that's the right one to use.
Yeah.
No doubt.
Something we actually disagreed on earlier. I wanted to use the
yeah.
word psychedelic.
And I was like,
How do you feel about that?
tonally, I didn't really hear.
Not in the
psychedelic,
aspect
but
of like being like psychedelic rock or anything
Yeah.
like that, but as a characteristic.
Yeah, I definitely
Of
think
the vibe.
that there's some of that in there. Obviously, with the funky tunes, you can hear it, But even with the other ones, like the acoustic ones, there's a lot of like sort of delay and reverb and stuff, just kind of meant to have that sort of trippy vibe to it,
Right.
Even on the acoustic ones.
There you go, Joe.
Well, maybe I'm a stickler, bro. Maybe I just like splitting hairs.
Joe just doesn't like psychedelics.
I mean, you know, there's a spectrum to it though, because like obviously it's not like it sounds anything like Jimi Hendrix or anything, and that's like what a lot of people would think of when you say psychedelic rock.
Yeah, I think that's
like
what
you know.
Yeah,
Joe went to when I said that.
I noticed that no, it's not that. It's actually quite the opposite. I noticed that people have a tendency to mislabel funk as being psychedelic when it's not. I feel like when it comes to the tone color of psychedelic, of music that is described with the word psychedelic, I feel like not a lot of people nail it. But not to say that there's a right or a wrong way. It's all subjective. Like you can hear anything. And
what kind of like genre labels would you guys put on the?
Well, it's like I said, contemporary jam band with funk influence.
I never know what to call, like, because sometimes I feel like when I'm writing songs, there's kind of like a spectrum of what it's going to sound like, you know? There's a lot of different music that inspires me. Right. So a lot of times I just label myself as like experimental or alternative or something like that. That's like, you know, it doesn't even really put you in a box. It's just like, this is whatever you think it is. That's what it is, you know?
Don't you find it so weird how as music has progressed, like we've gone from having so like very simple borders of genres of music, like back in like the 70s, 80s and whatnot. Yeah. And then as it went on, all like the trees of subgenres expanded so much to where people are like, it's fucking like, I don't know, macaw rock or some bullshit. And then like
part of it is like the sort of accessibility of recording music that there is now. You know? Whereas like a long time ago, you would have to go to a studio or a label or something, and then they're going to have their kind of vision of what it is you're producing, you know? So there's only like a handful of those places where you could really go get that stuff done if you go back far enough, you know?
Right.
But now like, everyone's just doing it at their house. So it's like, you get so many different like creative minds. Like it's great. Honestly, it's great hearing like all the way that music has really expanded.
Yeah. And what I find hilarious is that now it's gotten to the point where, like what you just said, most people are like, I make alternative music, or like I just make, so it's kind of like going back, and now instead of all of these different subgenres, everyone's just gonna be like one big one. Like everyone's just gonna like technically classify themselves under one genre.
Yeah.
I make music that isn't all the other music.
Yeah. And then eventually it's just exactly. Yeah.
It's just gonna be just making pop music, you know?
Yeah. Do you want to real quick run down like, so the names of the tracks? It goes Lydia, The Secret, A Breeze Rolls By, and Rosewood. Like what the meanings of those names are to you, or is that sometimes too personal? I don't know.
No, that's totally cool. I got you. So for the first one, Lydia is like more so based on the Lydian scale, because it's like a tone that I really like. It's like really like airy, I guess. It's hard to describe, you know, but it's fun to kind of improvise over.
It is.
So I sort of did it on purpose to like make it the name that people would think was like about a girl.
Yeah.
It's just like not, you know, it's just about music.
Did you write the song in a Lydian mode? In Lydian?
So, you know, it's not so much that it's like in a Lydian mode. I mean, pretty much not the whole thing, you know, but it's definitely like centers around that like 4 major 7 chord, you know.
You just kind of throw the sharp 4 in there every now and again. Yeah.
So yeah, you know, it's like that's sort of where it's at.
Awesome.
But there's no lyrics for that one or anything, so it's more of just like a vibe, you know. Same with the Secret, the next one, which is like, that's just the way that I felt when I made that song. I was just up late at night jamming with riffs, you know, and you know, there was nothing going on. Like work was closed, everything was closed at the time, you know. So I was jamming and I started to like record. I made that riff, and that was kind of like the feeling that it gave me. There's like a little like 9th chord that rings out in that one, and it has that feeling that like everything is, it's like it is a secret, you know. This is a song that would be a theme song for like a secret agent or something like that, you know. Ooh. If I had a television show like Get Smart, but it was me and I was being dumb, and it was called Get Dumb, that would be the theme song of that song.
I love it. Love that. I can imagine like an old Adam West intro, but with Lee, like a Batman intro.
Yeah, but that one like 9th chord, you know, because like the whole thing, it's got that like little bass line going on, and then when the 9th chord rings out, to me, it gives you that like real kind of mysterious sort of sound, you know?
Mm.
And I don't know, as I was doing that, I was kind of like not really showing anybody and stuff. So like it was a secret. I was like, this is what I'm cooking up, you know, in my room. So yeah, I guess that's where like the name came from for the whole thing, I guess. And then what do we got after that?
A breeze rolls by.
Breeze rolls by. That song, like, I actually went through a couple different iterations of it. I have like ones that I recorded previously that I don't think were as high of a quality. It used to be longer and have more lyrics. But it's kind of just like putting together like nature to like signify like the passage of time, you know? That's like what's going on a lot in that one. Vines growing and breeze going by, like things moving and changing, you know? So that's pretty much like what that song is about and where like the title comes from, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And then the last one is Rosewood. And that's just another music thing. It's just like a pretty tone wood, you know, something that like sounds really good. So I don't know, it was like a riff that I really enjoyed, and like the little whistle and stuff, like it had this kind of rustic feel to it. So I just named it after like a nice looking piece of wood, you know, nice sounding piece of wood.
That's awesome, man. I love that. Very that's what I thought of definitely when I heard that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I figured, I was like, okay, like the guitar, like, you know,
Real
he's
Rosewood guitar,
Rosewood,
too.
yeah.
I mean, they're great, yeah.
But that's very interesting. The Lydia, it being like based on Lydian, like I find that really cool because I was definitely like, gonna get to know who Lydia is.
I
No.
like to
And then you're like, nope.
I like to throw people off with that kind of stuff too,
Yeah.
you know? Because it's like whatever you're passionate about, you can write about it in a song, you know, but like you can always anything can be like personified, I guess. It's just like a sort of like writing technique, storytelling technique, you know? And I feel like it helps people who are listening to it understand better like what you're saying, you know? If you're just like, I love this random thing, people are like, what the fuck are you talking about? You know?
Hey, when I saw the name, the first thing I thought it was like Beetlejuice. I thought of Lydia from Beetlejuice, but you know.
Fair.
I mean, that'd be classic, dude. I like it, you know, it's cool for people to kind of find their own interpretations of things
Yeah.
too, you know? Like lyrics and stuff like that.
Oh yeah,
I
definitely.
love to be mysterious about that stuff.
It's
you
one
know?
of the cool
ambiguous.
things about songwriting and stuff that I feel like a lot of people like understate is that like being ambiguous in your songwriting is good because then if you can reach more people,
Yeah.
because then people can interpret it any way they want.
sure.
You know, like you'll be listening to a song and you'll be like, I definitely know what those lyrics are about, like because like you feel it and like it
Yeah.
makes you reminds you of something, but then you
For
actually
sure.
like look up what they're about and it's not at all that, but you
Yeah,
know, it's
and
really good.
It is hard to get people to identify it when you're being like really super specific with your own life,
Right.
you know? If I was like, yeah, I got into my Toyota Corolla and I drove to my friend Jim's house. It's like people aren't like really tuning into that, you know?
Mhm.
Right.
But I don't know, if you're more like vague, then there's more ways that people can just like bring it back to their own life and it reminds them of like something. Like that's how music has mostly affected me, is like it comes to me at a time in my life when there's something else going on and like I have these kind of associations and stuff. So like songs that I listen to definitely mean stuff personally to me, even if it's got nothing to do with the artist at all, you know?
Right.
Even if it's like, this is the song that was on when I was hanging out with this person. That like makes you feel a certain way, and like that song is like, it is what it is to you, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's really cool when people can like hear your lyrics and it's like it hits them in a new way, and then they tell you and you're like, oh shit, like I never even thought about that, you know?
It kind of goes against my general like my kind of loose general belief of like artist for the artist, because that very prospect of music that we're talking about contradicts that belief, because at that point when you release a song like that and it's reaching so many people, or it's like, you know, a ton of different people are identifying with it or relating to it in different ways, kind of doesn't become the artist's song anymore, really. It's just kind of in the ether of music. It kind of
Yeah, no
belongs to everyone in a way.
She
For
belongs to the streets.
To the streets.
Yeah.
Damn.
That's true, yeah. I mean, you know, like once it's out there, then it sort of does belong to the streets, you know? If people are using it for their own purposes, like they're listening to this song to psych themselves up, even if you're like, no, don't psych yourselves up to that, you know? It's damage is done, you know?
Yeah.
don't psych yourself up. I wanted to ask, the album cover, was that you or?
No, so my friend Zach, shout out to my guy Zach.
Shout out Zach.
Zach Cav Art.
Hit me back.
ZACCAVART. That's the Zach Cav Art. That's him on Instagram. But yeah, so he's just a good friend of mine, you know. He's like a longtime friend, and he does this absolutely savage artwork, you know. He's super good. He's always posting amazing stuff, you know. And, you know, I knew that, like, I've seen him, like, his process and how he can come up with art for music and stuff. Like, he's not so much a guy that will, like, just take a commission and, you know, do a random thing. It's like he wants to, like, believe in the art and stuff, you know? So he had me send him the songs, and he was, like, listening to them. And, like, he came up with that thing on his own, you know? I have, like, a tattoo of a purple octopus on my shoulder, and it's, like, my favorite animal, you know? And so it was his idea to have it be like the octopus with all the different instruments that I play. So he like asked me for a list of it, you know.
Oh.
And it was dope, you know, because it was like, it was never something that I would have thought of, you know. I was like, if you could just draw like stylized me with my guitar, that'd be perfect. And he was like, nah, dude, I got something so much better.
Dude, let me do my art.
Yeah, no,
it came out
so
like
sick. Yeah,
what a hookup.
It looks great. Yeah,
I love that.
I think I told you, I said it to you. It was like I would get that tattooed on my body. Like that's how fucking cool that shit looks.
that would be dope.
Yeah.
You got my blessing.
How well what about an octopus that you love so much? Just out of curiosity.
Octopus, it's my spirit animal. You know, I mean, I just think that it's like a very weird kind of like alien thing, you know. It's definitely like bizarre looking creature, you know, but they're also really smart, you know. Like if you have some food in a jar, an octopus is like one of very few animals that will like learn how to open it and get it out rather than smash it, you know, to get what's inside. So, you know, I definitely like identified with that type of thing. Like this thing is like smart, but it's like misunderstood, you know, because it's weird. So people are like, what the fuck is that thing, you know? Like that's me.
I'm starting to feel like one too.
Right?
Yeah, bro.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying, dude.
What is an octopi in this room on
Yeah,
the
man.
podcast?
I love the that like Witcher style bestiary entry you wrote about yourself in this, and you're like Bandcamp. That was really good. I love that.
Yeah,
Here.
it's just me being a goofball.
Let me, so for those of you who don't know Lee, he is a reclusive musical creature typically found in areas of remote wilderness, can be identified by the sound of music in the air, an ever-present baseball cap, and thick-framed glasses. His diet consists of fruits, vegetables, and psilocybin mushrooms. If you encounter him in the wild, do not be afraid. The animal is quite docile when offered cannabis, but may flee if you're a narc. I was gonna open it up with that, but I forgot. So thanks.
Honestly, like that's like I should make that my Tinder bio.
Oh, dude,
that might work.
that would be amazing.
It's a good intro.
That
That's who I am.
because that would like ward off all of the like basic girls,
True.
and then
Everybody
like
who's not down with
definitely
me being exactly who I am,
yeah,
they'll know right in the face.
exactly.
They will know.
Yep.
I'd be intrigued. If I read that, I'd be like, yo, this dude's wild.
Yeah,
Like, I
I'd
love
swipe. I'd swipe right.
All
Shit.
right, dude, I got 2 matches already.
it. Yeah, dude. So, I guess I kind of wanted to talk. Unless is there anything other about this about the secret that you want to? Anything? in general?
Well, while we're talking about it, I kind of want to ask about like your journey through instruments and stuff like that.
yeah,
No
Because I mean, I always have known you as like one of the most insane guitar players that I know, but I didn't really like. I've always heard you like playing piano and like drums and stuff, but I didn't realize that you were like that serious about it until I heard the EP, and I was like, oh shit, okay. I was like, all right, okie
definitely
dokie.
music is like my main deal, you know. Guitar is for sure like my main instrument. That's what I started on when I was young and everything.
How old were you?
I think I was like 11.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because it was like mad long. It was like 15 years ago, you know. But yeah, so I started on guitar. I was taking lessons, but I never had, even at that time, I was not aspiring to be a guitarist. I was trying to be a musician. And I think that a lot of people, like instrumentalists, kind of can put themselves in that box, you know? They're like, this is what I do. And like, I can't play drums, you know?
Oh, I
And
see
it's
what
like,
you're
well, you know, there's definitely parallel skills going on there, you know? Like, rhythm is an important part of any instrument that you're going to play, you know? So playing drums, even if you are not going to dedicate yourself to it as fully as the guitar, it'll still help you when you play the guitar, you know?
Right. Yeah.
So I started playing drums because I just would like, you know, before I was doing anything serious with music and I was still very young, I was jamming with other guys. Like we would make these little bands, you know, where it's just like, you know, I'll have my mom take me to your house after school. And like that was our band, you know? But yeah, one of my friends played drums, so I would jam on his kit all the time. He eventually upgraded. That kid's like a savage drummer now, and he gave me his first kit that he had. So I was able to like practice drums a little bit at home. Same thing with like a keyboard, you know, I had a little Casio keyboard. And when I started taking music theory in school, music theory was all mostly done on the piano. So then it was like you're getting a little bit of all these different things kind of coming in. And like, I don't consider myself a piano player, you know, it's like, it's a lot harder for me to kind of adapt to things going on the piano. I can maybe learn stuff, but it's a lot quicker that I can pick up on music on the guitar.
Mm.
But like I said, just putting a little bit of time into each one, I think just helped me like become a more like roundabout musician, you know, where it's like, now I understand the theory because of the keyboard and I understand the rhythm because of the drums, you know? And so when I'm playing guitar, it's like there's kind of all that to work from, you know?
Yeah. It's like, you know, when you play one instrument, like people, like you said, don't realize that all those aspects they're in like other instruments. So if you're playing a single instrument for a while, you can wrap your head around one and stuff like that. But it reminds me of, I don't remember who told me, who said this to me, but it's everything in music is really confusing. But the more stuff you just learn and accept, then everything else starts to make sense. Like the more you learn, the more everything you already know makes more sense. It's very weird.
True, yeah.
Yeah.
Because for me, theory didn't come right away, you know? It was like I was learning songs and stuff. I had a guitar teacher who would just like teach me whatever song we wanted to learn. Unless, you know, if it was out of my scope, then he'd be like, let's work up to that, or here's this easy version of that, or whatever. But I didn't know, like, I knew like what I was playing. I didn't know why anything made sense or didn't make sense, you know, why chords went together and stuff like that. So when theory, like when I started to take music theory in school, and it was just like every day going in there and being like, oh yeah, okay, oh now I see, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
It was all the stuff I'd already been doing just started to make sense, you know.
Right.
That's like any conversation I have about music with like Joe or Armin.
Yeah,
It's just like, oh, okay, I see.
just today, and it was really like the first time that we did, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's dope.
He's really good,
Dude,
you know?
he's
He
a
knows what's up.
fucking madman.
Yeah, he's a savage pianist. Yeah.
He has a savage penis.
I've had the pleasure of jamming with him once.
Like, I thought you were gonna say seeing it.
I wish. Maybe someday.
Get him on the podcast, dude. This will turn into a real Howard Stern type thing.
So this one's rated X, I guess. So I mean, I feel like I know the answer, but I kind of just want to see what your response would be. So like, how do you think it would change your music if you had only ever played guitar? Like, what would the Secrets EP be like if you only play guitar? Or would it even be, would it have even happened?
I don't know if it would, you know, because at the times when I was really just focusing on guitar, I mean, it's still my main instrument, it's still the thing I put the most practice into and everything. But at the times that I was really like hyper focused on it, that's the main thing that I wanted to bring to the front of the music, you know? So, if you guys ever like learn songs, like especially rock songs where it's like it's got this kind of notable classic guitar riff that everybody's into, and then you listen to like the bass riff and it's really just one note, you know, just do 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 do, and then they'll change with the chords or something, but there's not a lot of variety to it. To me, those are like songs that were clearly written by the guitar player.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
And he didn't really necessarily leave room for there to be a more complicated bass line, you know? And I have songs like that. I guess everybody probably does. Some things don't need to be made more complicated than they are.
Mm-hmm.
So it probably would have been more of that kind of thing, you know? Things that were like less heavy on the other instruments. Or, you know, like I said, with this acoustic album, that's just guitar and voice, you know? Like I think I only recorded bass for like one track on there, you know? So probably would be more kind of stripped down stuff like that, I guess, you know? But part of the whole thing about it for me was, you know, bringing in all the instruments, you know? Like finally sitting down and making a song that's not totally centered around guitar. I mean, if you listen to the tracks, The Secret is the one that's kind of like the guitar solo track. That's what it is, you know? But the rest of them, I really tried to make it not so much about that, you know? It's like about
I feel like
different textures in music, you know?
piano really stands out to me in a few of the songs.
Yeah, for sure.
Definitely really enjoyed that.
Definitely that one. Lydia is like heavy on the piano, you know? And the bass too. The bass is like a big,
that bass line
part of
on
that
the bass line on Lydia, and I think it was you had also a pretty ripping line on The Secret too. I really liked. I was like, oh, okay, Lee, I see you. You're getting funky
Nice.
on the bass. I like it.
Yeah, the bass, I had like sort of doubled up the bass with a guitar riff that I had like made. That's where like The Secret came from, you know? Whereas in Lydia, it was like the guitar riff. Lydia actually all came out of a different song that I had been working on. For part of this like sort of quarantine supergroup project. This guy that I know like sent drum parts to all these different musicians that like were never in the same room, and he was having us just like put our spin on it. So I got the drum tracks, at least the ones that I got, it was just drums, you know? So I basically had like free reign to pretty much write the song, you know? I mean, the rhythm was done for me, but I wasn't matching it up to anybody else's tonal music, you know?
That's
And
awesome.
yeah, I got the idea for like the sort of main line for Lydia, but it was the tracks that I had gotten were much faster. I was like, you know what? I think I'm going to actually take this thing that I'm working on, pull it out of this song, slow it down, and make this into my own thing, you know? And then I gave him a different track, and that wound up working out. I mean, that was still fun stuff, you know?
That's rad. That reminds me of Crisis. It's almost happened almost almost like the exact same way you described it. On Jaco Pastorius' second album, the first track, Crisis, all the musicians he had, he would not let them hear anything of what all the other musicians were doing. So like no one had any clue of what anyone else was playing at all, and they all recorded in separate rooms, and it became like just a psycho song. It's really cool.
I mean, you can definitely get some like really different sort of ideas that way, you know? Because I mean, the guy who sent me those drum tracks, you know, it's just drum stuff that I probably never would have come up with on my own, you know? So it gives me a new like playground to work in as a musician and as like an improviser, you know? It's like we're just building this playground one piece at a time, you know? And then when it's time for a solo, that's when it's like, all right, D, like go. Now you can go play. Go use those monkey bars, you know?
Nice.
That's what it's all about.
Is that something we could find somewhere?
So I'm not sure if that's all done yet. I mean, I can definitely show you some clips and stuff, you know? But yeah, I'll definitely let you know when it's all like coming out. The project is called House Punch.
House Punch.
Yeah. So
I love that.
you can totally find that on Instagram as well at House Punch. Pretty sure that's it. Maybe it's House Bunch NJ or something like that. I can't remember.
There we fucking go. Learn something new every day.
No
Love it,
doubt.
man. Oh God, we do that too many times.
Yeah.
I noticed.
You guys are in sync.
Yeah. I think I know exactly what he's gonna talk about. So
Oh yeah. So it's a pretty not so common thing, so it's very interesting to talk about. But you are a luthier, correct?
That's true. That's what I do.
Yeah. That's one of the most fascinating and awesome things I know or think that someone can be.
Nice. Very cool.
Would you like to
Appreciate it.
explain to anybody listening who doesn't know what a luthier is, like what a luthier is?
For sure. This is what I do. I do this all the time at work, so it's totally cool. Pretty much, lutherie or luthiery is like the study of guitars. So a luthier is somebody who repairs, maintains, builds guitars, and in a more general sense, like fretted instruments. I guess there's also like a branch of luthiery that would be for fretless instruments, like orchestral instruments, but it really is like pretty divided. They're very different, like a violin is very different in construction from a guitar or a banjo or a bass or whatever, but those instruments have a lot in common.
Right, the stringed instruments. Because like I was like looking at like a violin or a viola, like they have like the similar F cuts in them that like you would do in like a semi hollow.
Yeah,
or
definitely has the F hole,
So I always thought they would be like for someone who could build a guitar. I always thought that it would not
There's
be too hard to wrap your head around
There's definitely
it. but-
crossover, but they're very different. Like I said, sort of just in construction, the fretless stringed instruments have like way more of a radiused board, and obviously they're way smaller of like a scale length and everything like that. A lot of them use hide glue instead of regular wood glue, so that they're easier to take apart. Because that's something that like you may have to do with a violin. It's not often that on an acoustic guitar you're actually going to be taking it apart.
Right.
But on a violin they use this glue that has like a lower resistance, like shock value, so that if it was necessary they could just like pop it right open and glue it back up and it'd be like no big deal.
Oh, see, that's fascinating. I love this type of stuff.
Yeah.
So as like I guess the field of luthiery and working on stuff like that, it's not very common that you would run into someone who like does it, because not every guitar tech would technically be considered a luthier, so to speak.
Yeah, it's definitely I mean, there's a lot of things that they'll share, but it's true, it is a little bit of a different sort of ball game.
Right. So, and also even like not even many musicians, like you can have a musician who's been playing instruments for 30 years and not even consider really the fact or put too much thought in the idea of like who designed and built this instrument. So how did you get into, or how did you gain an interest and want to pursue being like luthiery?
So pretty much like when I left high school, I went to college very briefly as a math major, and that was like the subject that I was like best at in school. So I was like, all right, I mean, like if that's like the best subject for me, then I'll just study that and that'll be the way to do it. But most people I think figure out along their like educational journeys, you got to study something that you're passionate about. It's like it's really hard to go to math classes every day and take math tests all the time if you're just kind of phoning it in. Obviously music was like my main passion, like near and dear to my heart, and math was just was my best subject at school. So I learned quickly that like being good at it was not enough to really be good at it. Like, you gotta love it. So I stopped studying math and I switched over. I was studying music. And I started out with like music technology, but I was really more into like music theory and stuff like that, and music performance, So I did that for a little bit over at Brookdale. And, as like time went on, I was taking these classes, and I was like, what am I doing? Like what really am I doing with this music and this math and stuff, And so I was looking for ways that I could put them together, I was looking into the different ways to study music that would be more of a hard science kind of thing, you know? So I was thinking about music therapy and stuff like that. And then I found the lutherie schools just on that search, you know, like searching for different stuff to pursue, like education wise, you know. And so I found that like lutherie was a thing. I was like immediately interested in it, and I looked up all the different schools. There were a whole bunch of them, you know. Not a whole bunch. I mean, relatively, I guess, to other like trade schools and higher education and stuff, but there's a few of them like across the country, and the ones that really stood out to me that had like the sort of most involved program where you're really building a guitar kind of to your own specs, where this place in Michigan, it was like Gallup School of Guitars, and then there was the place that I went to ultimately, which was Roberto Venn School of Luthier in Phoenix. So I was like looking at those two schools, and I wound up going out to visit the school in Arizona, and you know, I just like totally fell in love with it. It's like the craziest place. And I was like, I gotta move here and like if I can study this stuff, dude, you know, that's pretty much like how I got into it. Just like it took me a while to find it, you know, from the time that I was like pursuing higher education. Like I was definitely bumming around for a little while before I really even knew that it was a thing.
Right. Now, how was your time at Roberto Venn? I know Arizona is very close to your heart. You
For sure.
like seem to have had a great time there. But I think I recall you saying like the amount of time you spent at Roberto Venn as a whole is really like not that long compared to like regular colleges where people go for like 4 or 5 year programs or something like that.
Yeah. So the luthier program there is like 6 months. It's an intensive study program. You go Monday through Friday, and it was like 10 hours a day. We went from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. And so
Wow.
we're just working the whole time, you know, like working straight through. It's like 80% is like sanding, you know, there's a lot of sanding that goes into woodworking, you know. So there's a lot of like sort of time consuming things that have to get done in that time, you know. So you really are like working straight through, you know. You get out of the program like ready to go to a job and work, you know, because like they've been working you to the bone already.
Yeah, that's like boot camp, dude. Because like
yeah.
most colleges, like, yeah, go to school for like 4 years, but like you have like what 3 classes or 4 classes a week, maybe depending on how you lay them out. But
True,
it's like
yeah.
just 6 months of 5 days, 10-hour days a week.
Dude, it's guitars all day, but
sounds
it's cool because it, you know, it is guitars, so it's a little bit more enjoyable than I imagine boot camp would be.
Yeah, and then so and then I guess the concept of building a guitar, like it's really cool because it's like people think it's like, oh, this is an instrument, but it's like a piece of art that you can play and make other art
no
with.
doubt.
It's kind
And
of cool.
honestly, like the director from the school, the thing that he'll tell you is like it's also a piece of wood. Like it's a tree. It was like a living thing at one time, you know.
Right.
So he's like, you know, all about kind of taking everybody on this like journey where he's like, okay, everybody close your eyes, you know, and like hear this piece of wood, you know, like imagine you're a tree. He's like that type of dude. You know?
That's awesome.
Oh yeah, it was great, and it was really great to have like the sort of duality of that kind of guy who's incredibly creative. If you see the kind of guitars he's built, they're just like unlike anything. If you go into your local music store and look on the wall, a lot of the guitars will be the same shapes and stuff, you know.
Right.
This guy's into building very creative new idea type things. But then other teachers at the school had the sort of engineering background that it takes to build something, you know. And they were a lot more like, if you are going to build the same thing over and over again, here's how you can make your own tools or make your own jigs and things that will help you along the process, so that as you start to do it, it'll get faster and faster every time. So you have both of these like presences in the school of like, realistically, this is how you engineer and build something, you know, and make it work. And then, you know, what is it that you want to build? What's going to set your stuff apart? You know, what do you want it to look like? all
Yeah.
that kind of stuff, you know.
I think that's like really, really dope. I feel like a lot of musicians would be like, I'd love to design my own guitar, but not really like put much thought into like why they're designed that way.
Yeah, and
Like,
honestly, along the way, you'll probably find things that you wanted it to work, but it just doesn't, you know.
yeah,
Certain designs are like, yeah, I could do that, you know, but then my string spacing is gonna be off, you know.
right.
So there's a lot of things that it kind of forces you to think about, you know.
Exactly. Like people are like, you know, why a lot of guitars like have the same shape or whatever. It's like take the jazz bass like body shape. It's like, oh, they shape that way because like contours comfortably when you hold it and
For
stuff.
sure,
And it's
yeah.
like, oh, it's fascinating. I
And
feel
yeah,
like
you definitely want it to have like the horns on there and everything, because otherwise it would be too like back heavy, you know.
Mhm.
They're trying to kind of balance out just like the center of mass on it too, you know. So there's a lot of stuff that's like you don't really think about it until you build one, and then you see the things that you fucked up, and you're like, ah, shit, that's why they do that. You know?
you're like
It's
a
classic.
you're like a wand maker from Harry Potter, but for guitars. I hope that
It's,
like,
it's an art, you know.
I hope that one day when you get like really old, you become like Ollivander and you're like blind. You can like hold a guitar and be like, that's maple neck and like alder and like sense it and shit.
That'd be
Like, like
Give a
this is
quick
an F
riff.
cut telly. Like,
The sort of thing I like to do with the acoustic guitars, especially if like they're new, you know, like fresh kind of out of the box, it's just like give a sniff inside the sound hole, because you can smell the like, you know, the like freshly sanded wood and stuff, you know.
ooh.
So like that's what I'd be doing if I was your blind luthier, you know, just oh yeah, that's rosewood, all right.
Dude, that's sick. Yeah, and you also from the pictures that you showed me a couple, not only from the director Roberto Venn and what he built, but like
Yeah,
some
for
of
sure.
your own guitars. Do you want to talk about like the guitars that you built there
Yeah,
a little
sure,
bit?
that'd be
Like
dope.
it's very fascinating. You built that really
Basically,
cool
at
acoustic too.
the school, you're building two guitars, one acoustic, one electric, and then they do let you like start on a third instrument if you're kind of like, you know, up to date with all the assignments and stuff like that, you know. So I had started on a third instrument, but as the program starts to go on, you know, there's a lot of stuff you got to do. So I never wound up finishing that one, but I do have like a fretboard and like a brace top from a parlor-sized acoustic guitar that I started to work on. But the ones that I got done while I was there are the electric, which is like a sort of Fender Mustang shape body.
Mm.
It's made out of alder, and it has like a figured walnut top and maple neck, ebony fretboard. That will be the electric guitar. The acoustic is rosewood back and sides with like a spruce top. Same thing, ebony fretboard, you know, ebony bridge. And then it has like koa, like figured koa binding on it, and like rosette and stuff. So a lot of different types of wood going into the whole thing, you know.
Bro, that was seductive. It was like captivating. And also, I think you showed me you have like your signature octopus on the headstock. Yeah.
Yeah, I got the octopus on the headstock of the electric guitar. The acoustic has this kind of like teardrop, like it's like a upside down crystal sort of shape, you know. And that's in the 12th fret inlay. But then I also have it like reflected on the truss rod cover. So that's like one of the things I learned from one of the teachers there, is to like find like a shape or image that kind of inspires you and work it into the guitar like everywhere that you can, you know. And that way it's like a sort of theme, like it's like people will notice that repetition in the thing of like these things all go together, you know, all the parts of this thing definitely match with each other.
Right. It's how like you can see a guitar that's made like a custom guitar from a dude who does it. You can be like, that's a Carl Thompson. I can tell.
Yeah,
like,
for
you know
sure.
what I'm saying? Did you like before you went to Roberto Venn? Did you like dabble in like building a guitar? Like, did you ever like get one of those like DIY kits kind of that they make?
So the one carving guitar that I have is like a kit. I didn't put it together myself initially because I bought it like secondhand from somebody, but I did wind up doing a bunch of work to it, you know. So I hadn't like built a guitar. I hadn't done any of the woodworking stuff before I went to school, but I definitely had give my hand at. I mean, I knew how to set up my own guitars and stuff like that, but I had definitely done some like upgrades and changes onto the guitar, just to see if I could improve it at all. So I like swapped out the pickups and the pick guard of that one and stuff. And I had done like tuners, but really it was going to school where I learned how to do most of the like more intense stuff that I've gotten into since then.
All the big boy shit.
Yeah, for sure.
Rad, man. I love it. I can talk about this for hours, Jack.
Yeah.
Save me.
No, I think that it's like a really cool and interesting quality that you have that I feel like a lot of people in like our sort of generation don't have. Like everyone wants things done for them, kind of, rather than learning how to do them themselves and figuring it out. Is that something that you see a lot in like other aspects of your life too, or is it more of just like I was really interested in guitars and wanted to know everything about them?
Well, I definitely have that in other aspects. I mean, guitars and instruments are like my main thing, so that's probably like where I've gotten the most practice of like doing my own things. But I like to not be relying on other people for things, or like relying on things to happen if I can make them happen, so like you guys probably already know, I'm like way into hiking and camping and stuff like that.
Right.
And I like to like do these like hikes where it's like it's just you, like you got to bring everything you need, you got to know what you're doing and where you're going, like you go out into the wilderness and it's like now you're on your own, so like you have to be educated about like what you're doing and how you can not get lost and stuff like that, so I do think that it's in other aspects of my life, in that if there's something that I can do myself, then I definitely will do it by myself. But like obviously just today had to bring my car into the shop, so I'm definitely not like I don't get a big head about that.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I need help with this. Somebody please help me.
Like my windshield wiper's fucked. Somebody fix it.
Yeah, for sure. But no, I like to try to do stuff myself, like when I can, and I like to learn new things, when I can. So if there's something I can do, then I'll definitely give it a shot, at least,
The art of self-reliance.
Yeah, it's a interesting point you bring up about like how you feel people nowadays want things done for them. Because Lee, I think you and I were talking about this a couple weeks ago, like how crazy it is, like how many people come to you to pay you $20 just to restring their guitar rather than take 5 minutes to figure out how to restring a guitar.
Honestly, dude, like even that one is like, I do think you should learn how to do it. I learned how to do it when I was like pretty young, and it wasn't that hard. It wasn't like I was like, oh, I gotta wait till I'm 18 to understand this. It's pretty easy to do. So, anybody who plays seriously, I definitely would tell them you should probably just learn how to do it,
Yeah.
Plus, you want to know how to do it if you're ever in a bind, like if, wherever it's not open, you can't bring it to somebody. You still want to be able to get it done, And so that's not even a hard thing. But deeper than that, like so often people come to me with something that's not working, like electronically. And the only thing I have to do is change the battery.
Okay, all right.
It's like, why didn't you check?
I'm a victim of that. If you remember, I reached out to you. I was like, dude, like, no, it's not fucking working. I was like, what do I do? You're like, might be the battery. And then I changed. I think I was going into the phone's input instead of the.
Oh yeah, I mean, there's always stuff like that, and it is like a learning curve,
Oh yeah.
You got to get there, but then once you're there, it's like, okay, now I know how to change the battery, and that I do have to change the battery.
Yeah. But I didn't even know there was a fucking battery.
A lot of people come to me just with that problem,
It's crazy, man. I even had this one kid came in. He was like, I need a new drum head, a new snare head. And he had this snare drum with him, and it was like a hole punch through it.
Can you put it on for me?
But that's the thing. I was like, he was like, yo, can you like put it on for me? And I was like, this kid was like 17. I was like, do you know how to tune a drum? And he was like, yeah, I do it all the time. And I was like, how long have you been playing drums? He was like, since I was like 10. And I was like, how do you not know how to put a head on? It's the same thing. Like, not trying to like talk shit on this dude, but
Yeah, I
it's
know
just
what you
like
mean, though.
it's the same.
It's
You
just
put
an
it on.
indicator that
you-
it's like one of those things that, if they haven't figured out how to do it, all it means is that they've never tried.
Yeah.
Because it's not that hard, So it's like, even if you're not going to be the guy, even if you're doing it and you're like, you know what, I don't know if that's totally right. Maybe I need someone to check my work, It's still better to at least give it a try,
Yeah.
Because you might save yourself a trip, or you might save yourself a few bucks doing something, if you're like, oh, wow, that actually turned out to be really easy,
Yeah.
Like
Exactly.
changing the, I had to bring my car in today. I'm totally self-effacing about that. I had to do that, But if I got to change like my blinker, that's like super easy.
Yeah,
I
it's
just do that
just, like,
myself,
pop.
So something like that, changing the battery, changing the strings. I'm like, maybe just give it a try before you bring it in.
Exactly.
And then if you really fuck it up bad enough, then it's like, we'll bail you out,
That's like something I noticed too. Is people be like, you could tune it for me, right? And I'm like, oh, you're not gonna stick with this very long.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like when I get that question, I'm like,
Yeah.
you're fucked.
I've-
You have no hope.
I've had people
that is tough.
come into the store and be like, yo, like there's something wrong with this. Is your tech in? Like, is there something wrong? Like, it's not sounding right. Like when I do it and I'm like, it's an acoustic
No.
guitar. There's nothing wrong with it. I popped a snark on it. I'm like, you
Oh, it's
just got to
just like
tune it.
Yeah.
And they were like,
steps out of tune.
and they were like, what? And I'm like, what do you mean what?
It's so
it's
true.
like, you should play piano. You should play keyboard.
Yeah, I was
because you
gonna
have
say,
to
tuning
upkeep the piano.
Tuning a piano is a whole friggin' like process.
Yeah,
It's like you need Ableton or
You need like a
keyboard.
NASCAR pit crew to like tune a grand piano or something.
Literally.
Yeah. So moving on back to, so I didn't nerd out about the craft of making guitars for a minute, but
it's all good. It's fun stuff,
yeah. Being a musician and a working musician more specifically, because I know that before COVID hit, specifically, you were in a gigging band. Right?
Yeah. I was playing in a cover band, which is it's a pretty steady gig to be doing, like on the Jersey Shore, because you got the whole Jersey Shore, which has a good summer scene, party scene, and like club scene and stuff. But then also we're very close to New York, so we would go to like Manhattan, and we went to the Village and stuff to do shows. And we're also close to Philly, so we would go down there. And my band, the Breakdowns, what it's called, we did book through an agency. So every now and again, we'd be playing shows like further out than the rest of those. We'd have to travel for them. But it's definitely like there's no shortage of gigs doing cover music in bars at the Jersey Shore.
Right. Exactly.
Plenty of stuff going on there.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of young musicians who first start playing, almost all of the time will go straight to doing covers or, like just learning songs with their friends in their garage or something like that. But I noticed that the more you do it, like, so you've been playing for like a couple of months, like you really want to stray away from it because I noticed a lot of people feel like self-conscious about it because you get other like kids or something, like if you're young, be like, you want to come jam, and you'd be like, what song? Like that's not what they mean.
What song you want to play? I know 3.
Exactly. Yeah. But they don't really know that is one of the most common ways that working musicians get paid. So
Yeah, for sure.
Do you
definitely where like the money is at?
Yeah,
I
definitely.
mean, like for me, music has always been like a creative outlet. I learned songs and stuff in the beginning, but I really was always just trying to get to a point where I could take the music that was in my head and translate it to my hands, Like I was always way more inspired to get the original stuff out there. But after having played for a while and just like, just kind of like developing a certain set of skills, like it kind of was easy for me. I developed my ear training a lot, so it's easy for me to hear songs and like duplicate them. Like I could learn new songs very quickly. So joining the cover scene was not that hard, because for one thing, most of the songs that you play in the cover scene are relatively easy
Mm-hmm.
tunes. You know, a lot of the sort of pop hits that people want to hear are like 3-chord songs. You know, so it winds up being easy enough to kind of get the hang of it. You know, and yeah, like it was just like it was the first band that I'd ever joined where they were like, all right, you know, we got 2 shows every weekend for the foreseeable future. You know, and so I was like, oh, dude, that's great. You know, it's not all the music that I'm the most passionate about, but how steady the gigs are is like so important, because it allows you to kind of, you know, pay the bills while you are working on your own stuff, you know? So that's like kind of what allowed me to build up my gear, you know, and get to the point where I could record that EP, you know?
Right. How what kind of songs do you guys like? What kind of like you said?
So
you
the
play same
breakdown,
songs. Like,
particularly, we tried to really do a little bit of everything. My favorite stuff that we did was like the rock stuff. So we did a lot of, you know, I was the lead guitar player, and I mostly was playing like distortion and heavy stuff, you know. So the most fun songs for me are obviously going to be like the songs that we do, the rock songs from the 80s and the rock songs from like the 2000s and stuff, you know. Songs like by Fall Out Boy and stuff, like people lose their minds to that.
yes, sir. Yes, they do.
Yeah, so like, you know, that was always really fun.
Did I see like a video, or I feel like you showed me a video where I saw you guys doing like Uptown Funk or something like that?
We did Uptown Funk.
Yeah.
We did that as like a medley. So we did like the rock music. We did some funk music, but like pop funk music. It wasn't so much like the deep cuts or anything, but it would be like play that funky music, Brick House. We did like YMCA and stuff like that. You know, we did do Uptown Funk, and that was actually pretty fun. We did like a hip hop medley, so we would do songs like that too, you know, and like a couple of like rap songs. But that was where it was a little bit of like a departure for me. That was not a type of music that I had ever like personally really gotten into. So as part of the being in the cover band, it's like it's not the same as original music where you're going there to represent yourself. In the cover band, you're going out there to represent the venue. You're trying to like bring the party to the place. If people aren't up and dancing, the entertainment those are the people that have to get them up and dancing, you know?
Right.
So if you go to a place where there's 1,000 people, or if you go to a place where there's only 5 people, you have to like bring the energy and sell the show and get the crowd, you know? So even when we were doing stuff that, you know, like wasn't our individual like cup of tea, we always had to like get into it, you know, and like sell it on stage, you know? So that was definitely, you know, it was a great experience to have as a musician. It's like, you know, learning to feel the music, like whatever it is, you know? If you're playing it, it's like you got to be feeling it, you know? Otherwise, everyone's going to see right through you.
Right.
I'm like clearly like the rock and roll guy, and then we switch to the rap song, and I'm just like checked out. Nah, I don't care, you know? Then like people are going to be like, what is this? This guy's a phony, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
So the whole time you got to be dancing, having a good time, drinking, inviting the ladies up on the stage. You know, you got to be getting everybody into it.
So let's what's up?
No, I just think it's really definitely cool. I feel like people talk down on or think poorly of like cover bands and stuff like that. It's like, oh yeah, my dad's in a cover band or whatever. Like, yeah, he's like in a cover band, like whatever. But I feel like it's a really cool thing you could do to push yourself out of your comfort zone too.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
Especially in your situation, like doing that stuff that you're not used
doing
to.
all types of music, you know, which up until then, I didn't really ever have to do that. You know, I was always just doing things that I wanted to do, you know? So, I mean, you know, we still were trying to pick and choose like the best stuff. And we always put a little bit of ourselves into it, you know? A lot of the rap and hip hop songs that we would do, the way that I would try to spice them up and keep them interesting for myself was to double the melody that would typically be like a synth that was doing it, but I would keep my guitar on like the heavy distorted setting.
Mm.
So I'm just like doubling up these like notable, you know, hip hop melodies and stuff, you know, and it was a way to kind of keep it energetic, you know, and keep it like loud, but also sort of rockins, which is like true to like what I do, you know. So then at that point it was like easy. It's like, even though we're doing these songs that maybe I wouldn't be my first choice to put on the radio or whatever, it's like I can still like rock out to it, you know, and have a good time. Be authentic, you know. I don't have to like fake it, you know.
Yeah.
A buddy of mine said something a while ago, and obviously this does not apply to all musicians that are in a cover band or anything like that. Like obviously Lee, you're amazing musicians, but
Appreciate it.
he was like, if you only play covers, then you're not a musician, you're a performer. Like
Yeah, I mean, I feel that.
Like, and
as somebody who has done it, you know.
Yeah.
I definitely do feel it, you know. Because especially in the cover scene, you kind of see those people too that you know, there's some of us that are clearly in it like for the music, you know, and we're enjoying the musical experience that we're getting out of it. And there's definitely other people that are in that same scene that are clearly just in it for the partying, you know,
right.
Which is, you know, that's cool. That's fun stuff. I mean, like at some point it's like, that's why everybody gets involved in music, you know, I guess it's like, or like the way that you feel when you hear it, you know, and then when you listen to it, you know, it makes you feel good. So even if it doesn't make you feel good, it makes you feel something, you know, so that's like really important. But there's definitely guys that you can tell are like, they're just trying to stick to the easier stuff. Like the guys in my band, we had our like routine that we went through, you know, but we did try to put in a couple of different songs and a couple more complicated songs just to, you know, keep ourselves like fresh and everything. One of the ones that I really enjoyed doing was Bohemian Rhapsody, which is like pretty complicated song, you know. Definitely has fun guitar parts to play and interesting leads and stuff, but it's tricky for everybody, you know, like everybody in the band just really got to like learn their parts for that song because it's very dynamic and stuff, you know.
Singer's got some work to do on that one.
For sure.
For sure.
Definitely.
We would like switch over too. My keyboard player did the singing
Oh yeah.
for like the beginning, and then like the singer would like take over, you know. So it was cool. Yeah, everybody was definitely like pushing themselves to the limit on certain things, you know.
Yeah. Now, real quick, what sparked my interest when you were describing what kinds of music and types of music you would play at gigs, what kind of like situation were those like gigs like? Because I feel like most people, when they think of like a gigging cover band, or maybe this is just me, but like I'm thinking of like, you know, bands who would be booked to play, you know, weddings, like at that type of stuff, or like a band to be in a jazz club just to play like kind of live background music while people are chatting, having drinks and stuff. But like you seem like what you were describing, it's like, no, come see this cover band. Like you guys are like the focal point.
The thing about those other bands is that they're a little bit of a different kind of sound. Like with the band that I played in, we did a lot of different types of music, but everything we did was energy level up to 11, you know.
Right.
All the songs from the different genres would be very high energy songs that the crowd could sing along to, whereas in a wedding band you're going to want to get some good songs for people to dance to, but you're also going to want to get some good songs for people to slow dance to, you know. And there's a couple of wedding staples that you might have to learn. Same thing in a jazz band. It's like you don't have to be cranked up the whole time, you know. You can sort of fill the air a little bit more with kind of like lower volume, lower intensity stuff, you know. But we were like a straight up like Jersey Shore party time bar band, you know. So we would mostly do like bars and clubs. We did a lot of casinos and stuff like that. And then we would play at like random places. We did a Hard Rock Cafe down in Florida once.
Oh,
damn,
that's far.
Yeah, it was nice though, because it's just like a little vacation, you know.
Yeah, you guys just kind of chilled in Florida for a while.
Yeah, it was down in like Fort Lauderdale, I guess. But But yeah, so that was dope. And then we did a show that was like right outside. We would play outside of the stadium, the soccer stadium that's like in North Jersey. I don't know exactly where it's at. It's like Elizabeth or something like that. But yeah, there's like a soccer stadium up there. We did like an outdoor show outside there, you know. So especially going to the different places and the different crowds, like people want to hear the different types of music. So if we are pulling out all the rock stuff and it's like a, you know, an older crowd, maybe they might not be as into that, you know. So we would have to like break it up. And my singer actually also like spoke Spanish, so that was really cool because we could do like the sort of like Latin grooves too.
Ooh.
And that's really good stuff, you know. Keeps the drummer entertained because like the Latin percussion is like
It's ridiculous.
so fun. Yeah,
Yeah.
it gets people dancing, you know. We definitely didn't have anything in our repertoire that would be like, okay, like everybody, you know, like now will be the time when you sit down and cool off. It was like up to 10 the whole time.
Balls
you
to
know?
the wall.
Yeah,
For
see,
sure.
it's interesting. 'Cause I was watching, like, I don't know if it was a video or something, like, but I heard someone who was in a pretty much like a jazz, or had experience in like a jazz cover band, or like one of those jazz bands would be in a bar or whatever.
Nice.
So like there are moments where like, yeah, like, you know, you can bring the attention to yourself and
Yeah.
stuff like that. You know, this is a song that people will recognize, but it's a jazz band will also recognize and feel out the vibe of the room
Yeah.
when they'd be like, yeah, let's
Sometimes you
just
try
fill
to
the
lay
air.
it back so that people can have their conversations and do their thing.
Right.
Yeah.
But they said that sometimes those are fun because like when no one's paying attention to you, you don't have to stick to like a set list
For
and
sure.
stuff. You can just be like, let's jam real quick, and then
No
just kind of
doubt.
like do something. And I was like, I don't know. Do you ever feel like when you're at like one of those cover shows, you just, instead of like playing the next song on the set list, you just do like a jam real quick? Or
We've
I mean, that'll
definitely
probably
done
deflate.
stuff like that. A lot of like what it is with my band is like we're very interactive on stage, you know, like talking to each other and goofing off with each other because we want the audience to like perceive us as we are, you know. We don't want to go up there and it's like every movement that we have is planned, you know, A to Z. So we're definitely like being the same like goofy guys that we are backstage, you know, like up there on the stage, play goofy songs, and we'll do stuff just to like single somebody out, like he hates when we play this song, so we're gonna play it, you know.
Yeah.
Make people sing when it's like makes them uncomfortable, you know. It's just like we're always like goofing off with that stuff. So every now and again we'll have like impromptu jams that are songs that somebody from the audience wanted to hear, and maybe we don't all know it, but one person does. So they'll be like, all right, well, take it then, dude, play it. They want to hear it, just do it, you know? We'll do stuff like that. And a lot of it was in the cover band scene, you know, we're playing, you know, usually 3 sets in a night, sometimes 4 at certain places, sometimes 2 at other places. But usually we're doing like 3 sets. So we're trying to get the start and end times right where they need to be. You know,
Right.
A lot of times venues they can be sticklers about that, you know?
Yeah.
And sometimes there's specific rules why they have to do it. Sometimes they don't want people to leave, so they're like, your set is supposed to be over, but you got to keep these people dancing because otherwise they're going to go. So then we'll be like, all right, let's drag it out. And a lot of times in those situations, that's when they're relying on mostly me to fill space with guitar solos. So like in songs that we have that like have solos, a lot of times I'll be improvising and I'm just waiting for a cue from my singer for when we're going into the next part.
Right.
Sometimes it'll be the normal, you know, 2-4 bars, whatever it is. And sometimes it's like, all right, we got only 2 minutes left, not enough time to play another song. So we got to drag this song out by 2 minutes. And then it's
Dude,
like, all
that's
right, Lee,
rough.
play 2 minutes worth of guitar solos.
Oh my God. You had to fill 2 minutes? Dude.
Sometimes, you know, we would do this really long version of What I Got by Sublime, where we would do like,
Nice.
solos like bouncing them back and forth between me and the keyboard player. And then we did like a double time version, like we'd speed up and do double time, you know. So it was like just ways to kind of like drag out these songs to get to whatever time we needed, you know. But it definitely helps you learn as somebody who improvises on an instrument, you know.
Right.
It's not the same as just learning this solo and playing it the same way every time, you know. It's like, I don't know how long I'm going to have to do this for, so I need to leave myself room to build this thing,
Right.
You know, I gotta like structure this lead in such a way that I can go up from here, and that I'm not just like, you know, doing crazy sweeps like right off the bat, you know. And then it's like, now I gotta do that for 2 minutes. There's no like,
And there's no
anticipation,
escalation.
You know,
yeah. No suspense.
So, yeah, it was definitely. It's a great sort of exercise in that kind of stuff, like doing these improvised solos like on stage, where it's like at any second they can give you the cue or they can go into the next part. So not only do you have to be ready to build it, you have to be ready to end it. You know,
Yeah.
if I'm doing trying to do some crazy shit, and then it's just like they're right into the verse. It's like, how am I going to transition myself back to the, you know, I'm the only guitar player in the band, so it's like, how am I going to get back to the parts I need to play for the verse, you know?
Right.
So yeah, it's definitely some great like experience working in that way, you know? You do original music, and it's like, you know, some guys are in jam bands and they write songs that have those qualities where they can do that kind of stuff. But for me, a lot of the songs that I write are kind of very specifically done. It's like, this is how it goes, this is how long it is, you know? So it's a very different sort of thing, being out there and like having to just pay attention to what everybody else is doing and kind of communicate just like with our music, you know?
Yeah.
Listen for the cues and everything.
That's important stuff, to be able to like just feel the moment and that instrument. I remember from my time in tech, like the theater I used to work at, we had a lot of shows. We had cover bands come on and stuff, and
Yeah.
There were not so much with like the headliner sometimes, but a lot of times with like cover bands that would open up or whatever.
Yeah.
Like like they'd be like, yeah, we got time for one more, and then me and my tech director all like seething in the background, like,
Yeah.
no, your time's up, dude, get off
Yeah,
stage.
see,
And they don't listen.
we're
Like,
not trying to make anybody feel that way, you know. We were always like, and you know, it's awkward too, because sometimes you play a show and the people in the audience, you know, you're playing at bars and stuff. A lot of times people in the audience, like, they might be getting a little tipsy, you know. So you get to the end of the night and they're just like, one more song, and you're like, no, we really can't. Like, we literally can't. We're not even allowed, you know. And they're like, one more song. And you're like, nah, dude, like, you don't understand. To me, you know?
you don't understand.
That's why you gotta like
And then
end.
they're like, oh, shit. You're like, I'm sorry, bro. But
Yeah, you gotta like end it like 5 minutes early and
We're
be
also
like,
trying to be
all right, we're
officials,
done,
yeah.
no more, sorry, and then be like, all right, fine, one more, and then but that's it, and then it hits that like
you gotta
10
read the
o'clock,
crowd
and then
too,
it's
'cause
like,
you don't want to say like, yeah, we're done, but then you have 5 minutes left, and then the crowd is like, good, those guys sucked. Like, oh, all right.
Oh, that's
I'm sure
funny.
that wouldn't happen.
Yeah, I've
Um,
had my fair share of the tipsy crowd member experiences.
Yeah,
Even as a
yeah.
tech, it was crazy. I had people come up to my lighting board at the front of the house. And this one lady was like really drunk, and she was like, can you like make it brighter in here? And I was like, get away from me.
It's like DJing. People come out to you, can you play this song? It's like, I don't have that downloaded. Like,
True.
it's not how it works. It's like, that's at 150 BPM and I'm at 70 right now. So go away for like 30 minutes and maybe.
Yeah, I definitely had a guy come up to me one time. He was looking at like my pedal board, and my pedal board is very basic, you know. I just have like just the things I need because I don't want to carry a lot. Because
Right.
sometimes we got to go like bring shit upstairs or through the sand, and like it's a pain in the ass. So
Big pedal boards can get heavy.
I'm trying to get just everything in one trip. My guitar, my backup guitar, my amp, which I have on a roller thing, and then my pedal board. So I'm trying to like not get more stuff than I need, you know? And the guy's looking at my board and he's like, oh, bro, you got the super badass? Oh, you should totally get this. He's like one of those guys, like just trying to tell me like, dude, you know what you really need is like one of these. And I was like, all right, you know, I mean,
Thanks,
I'm
dude.
already here, so I'm probably not going to get it before the next set. You know? So I'm just going to have to do it.
Unless you have one in your car, you're not hearing
guy,
it tonight.
Dude, he came up to me when I was like online to go use the bathroom to like keep giving me shit about that, you know?
Jesus.
And I'm like, just like waiting to go piss. I was like, yo, like, this is the only time that for a person who was at the show, I was really like, you gotta leave me alone, dude. You know, like, I told you, nothing's gonna change. I got what I got, you know? If you don't like it, you can fucking go somewhere else, I guess, you know? But I'm like cornered, like trying to go to the bathroom. I was like, bro, this is not PC, dude, you know?
You gotta go.
Cornered me like that, you know?
Um,
It was in Manhattan. It was just like some
Oh, well, that's
super
why.
drunk guy, you know? I was like, guy, like, leave me alone, you know? I'm just working.
Oh, man.
you definitely told me a few stories about like crazy experiences you've had. As far as like, I think, what was the last thing you told me, that like some girl like grabbed something off of you when you were on
Oh,
stage?
yeah. There was at that same place, actually.
Oh
We
yeah.
played at this one
Same
place
night?
in, not the same night.
Oh, my
no.
God.
We
Okay.
played this one place in Manhattan, like, pretty often. Session 73. It's a good spot, you know. It would get a great crowd, and I became boys with like the bouncer over there, you know. So it's just like a cool, fun spot for us to play. And that place has a very small stage, and it's like not very high up off the ground. And yeah, I was like just standing up there jamming, like I'm like way up to the front because we got the drummer behind us, so there's like no room really. Like I'm right on the edge of the stage, and I'm jamming. This one girl had her leg like up on the stage. I thought she was just like resting or something, you know? And at one point she just like jumped up onto the stage and grabbed my sunglasses like off my face and just kept them. And I never even got them back.
What?
Just like, I was like singing in the mic and it like completely shocked me. I was like, what's going on, you know? And then I got to make eye contact with everybody because like I lost the barrier of having my sunglasses, you know?
Oh, my God. What? You know, did she just, like, leave the venue with them? Like, you didn't find her after the set?
Didn't you say that she said that her friend wanted to talk to you or something?
It's true. She took my sunglasses and she gave them to her friend and was like, I mean, if you want to get them back, you got to go talk to my friend, you know? Like, she wants to meet you. I was like, well, okay, that's fair. All right. That's pretty imaginative. All right, let's do this. So it's just, you know, it's just a weird way to start that kind of thing because at first I was pissed. I was thinking like, this is somebody who's way too drunk and they just took my sunglasses and I'm like going to get them back like, hey, what the fuck, you know? And she's like, oh, actually my friend has them. She said you were cute. You know, I was like,
Oh,
okay, all
all
right,
right.
fair enough.
I'll give you give you a D for effort. That's pretty creative, I guess.
Switch gears in my head, you know?
Before we move on, any other like notable, like crazy ass drunk people things that have
Because those are
happened?
always great.
Yeah, those are
That's
always
That's a
entertaining.
good question. I don't want to throw anybody under the bus or anything.
Oh, no.
Oh jeez.
No, I don't know. I mean, you know, like that's part of the it's all part of the cover band scene. You play at a lot of bars, you know, so sometimes people get rowdy, you know, and like I said, we would book through an agency, so every now and again they would like put us up at a place. Like when we played in Florida, we had a place to stay. We played in Vermont, we had a place to stay, you know. So sometimes we would get pretty rowdy, you know, as long as we were good to play the music, then it was like, you know, we're allowed to drink at most of these shows except for some of the casinos, you know. So yeah, definitely. Sometimes it was them, sometimes it was us, you know.
It'd be like that sometimes.
Has it ever been to a point where like you or anyone in the band was like too fucked up?
Well, we have one show that it was like, you know, like I said, it was a place where they had put us up, you know, so like we didn't have to go anywhere, so we all just like brought liquor and we were totally like between the sets going back to the rooms and just like chugging it down while we could, you know. And yeah, definitely like when we started our third set, we had really noticed like, you know, this had never really affected our performance before, but maybe tonight
Maybe tonight.
maybe tonight it really has.
Maybe not drink this much again next
Yeah,
time.
we're looking over, like we're playing the last set, and we look over at the sound guy, dude, and he's like shaking his head. You know? And we're like, oh shit, that's like never happened before.
He's like, what
looking at
time
his
is
watch
it?
and stuff. We were like, oh, okay, maybe we'll just wrap it up.
That's a bad sign. You don't want your hand audio guy to be doing that. That's no bueno.
Yeah, so you know we had to live it up that night because that was the last time we ever played there.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Oh jeez. So
he had a good time.
before
Story to tell.
It was fun.
before we move on from the band, how did you get into that band?
This is actually a pretty crazy story, you know. I'm working as a tech, you know, doing my guitar repair stuff. This guy comes in to get his guitar fixed, and he just wanted it set up. He had never had a setup before. He had this guitar for like, years and years. And he brings it to these like outdoor gigs and stuff. So it's, it's kind of warped. It's an acoustic. And he brought it to get set up. And he's like, dude, I got this crazy stuff going on with my band. I'm looking for like a keyboard player and a guitar player right now, And he's like, you like work at a music store. Do you know anybody? And I was like, I play guitar. And he was like, I don't know. I'm looking for somebody who's more like, like just able to be on stage in front of people and be cool. And I was like, oh,
wow.
It's like, oh, fuck
okay,
you.
He definitely like, there was like a sort of initial moment of him being like, are you sure you're the right guy for this, And I was like, no, but I'll definitely give it a shot, And so I scheduled this, and it was weird too, because his name was also Lee. So like we just were like, oh, 2 Lees, dude, and we both play guitar. This is tight, So we just like hit it off right away. And I told him about this thing that I used to do, this program that I used to be in when I was younger, where they would like, they took like young musicians and they would like pair you up into bands and stuff, and then give you like classic rock songs to play and stuff like that. And I did that for like many years. So I definitely had experience learning songs that, just like sort of classic hits that people knew and playing them on stage and stuff, even though I was pretty young. So I was like, yeah, dude, I mean, I'll give it a shot. I went to the audition, and they had actually found a guy to audition for keyboards as well. He came to audition at the same time as me. We both learned like the funky medley that they have, which was like 5 or 6 songs, and we played them to the track, with all the transitions and stuff. And I learned all the different parts. I was doing some backup vocals and stuff. And, the guys were like, all right, I mean, that went well. Like, both you guys learned the songs. That was fine, But another important thing is how we all vibe together. They're like, we're going to be together every single weekend. We're going to be working in sometimes stressful situations, but we always got to be cool. We always have to be putting on a good, happy face, and be full of energy. So you can't be one of those people that's like, yeah, everything's cool now, but when shit goes bad, then I'm just in a bad mood and I can't be talked out of it, It's like, at the end of the day, we're still the entertainers, So we all got to vibe and be able to deal with each other and travel with each other and have a good time and stuff, bring the party. And so that was easy. I mean, those guys, like, they're all cool dudes, We all had a good time together at the audition and at the gigs and stuff since then. So it was pretty quickly that like I fell into it and really like became one of the boys with the band, But I definitely had to do some kind of adapting, like in order to play these gigs. My singer, he was the one who was really in tune with like, what do the agencies look for, like what is it that they want to see when they're pitching bands to venues, So there's like, I've always mainly thought about the music, He's thinking a lot about the appearance, and he's like, here would be some ways that I'd recommend, like styling your hair on stage. Maybe that's how you keep your hair like every day, but if you do this when we're on stage, that'll really stand out, And he would always say, after the gig is done, if you can walk through the grocery store and people don't know that you're part of a band, then you're underdressed. It's like, you should look like a rock star. So I started getting like skinny jeans, and I was wearing these like shirts from Hot Topic that were like too small, make me look buff because they're so small. And it was dope, dude. It was one of those things that like I started to do that, and people at shows would be like, wow, that's a great shirt. I love that shirt, And I'd be like, Hot Topic, man. Who'd have thunk? They're really coming in clutch.
That's
like
hilarious.
Nightmare Before Christmas shirt. Like everybody is like, wow, dude, I love Nightmare Before Christmas. And so like it's then a thing that like they remember, and it helps your band out.
That is so
like
funny.
Just standing out.
Yeah. So that was the stuff where when he saw me working, he was like, are you sure you're the right guy? Because he was like, you don't look like a rock star, And I was like, yeah, okay, fair enough. But maybe I can try, And so I really started dressing up, just like different for the gigs, I guess, And I put my contacts in, and like I had like these bracelets and stuff that I would wear, and it was all just like to kind of get the imagery down so that if we had videos and photos, we could send them to the agency, and then they could send them to the venues, and they'd be like, this is a band that we got. They look like this. Most of the venues that book that kind of stuff, they don't even listen to the music. They're just like, yeah, those guys look good. Get them here,
Yeah.
But like, there's not really people from the casinos like, do you have any of their tracks, They're just like, yeah, show me some headshots of that band. You're like, yeah, that's good,
That's
and
interesting.
I've seen it happen, dude, where, certain guys, because, the guys in my band, not me, I didn't play any part in getting in good with the agency. I just joined the band at a good time, But the guys that really had the relationship with the agency, I've seen other people go to them like, dude, can you put me through with this guy, and like tell him that I have this band, like here's our YouTube channel or something. And like the guy will text back right away and just be like, pass. It's like a cutthroat, like industry. So that's why, even though it seems a little goofy, like, yeah, I got to wear this like little tight shirt for this performance, but it actually makes all the difference, It's like, even though it's more so about the music, you don't even get to play the music if you don't look the part in the cover scene,
Damn.
So, yeah, it's definitely a thing that I had to personally adapt to because, doing my original music, it's like I kind of just dress like myself, Like I go out there and like I'm just playing the part of Lee. So it's like, wear my baseball cap, my glasses, it's all good, I look like what I look like, it's no big deal. But yeah, definitely the cover band scene was like, nah, you gotta look like you're a rock star, you gotta make these people believe that like we're all famous musicians,
Right.
even though like we're just going back to work during the week anyway,
No, that's crazy. The persona, it's Hot Topic thing is funny.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, that's
incredible.
where I got all my shirts from, dude.
I love that. That's crazy. No,
So
I'm just laughing about that.
the next thing that I wanted to talk about that actually just popped into my mind, I hadn't planned on talking about this, but you used to, I don't think anymore, teach guitar as well,
Yeah.
correct?
Yeah, for sure.
Not
No, I
doing
did
that
not.
currently?
I haven't done it in a little while just because, ever since the pandemic, I really had to cling to the full-time opportunities that I've had since all this stuff went down, because obviously the gigs sort of dried up,
Mhm.
So that was a pretty steady source of income for me. So now I'm just like rolling with the full-time thing, so I haven't had as much time to dedicate to teaching. But I'm definitely still open to it, and it's like that's something that's kind of easy to do on the side because it can just be a smaller commitment. If you just have a couple students, you could just do it on one day and, make it work. So I do have like I still think that I have like a passion for it, like
Mhm.
sharing what I know about music with people if they're interested.
When originally, like, did you start doing that?
The first time that I started to teach music was when I moved out to Arizona, which would have been like 4 or 5 years ago, a little bit less than 5 years ago, I guess. Just because I went out there and then I was like really like on my own, like fending for myself. And so I was looking for ways to make extra money. I was working a full-time repair tech job at that time also. And that was fine, but I just figured like I got 2 days off, so I'll spend one of those days doing some lessons. And I did some like private lessons there, I had a few students. One kid I taught about repair stuff actually. But I was still kind of like figuring out how to teach music. When I was younger than that, I used to do these like game design classes. That was like one of my jobs was I was like an assistant instructor for this company that did these game design courses. So we would take, classes of like 20 students and teach them about like Game Maker or Construct or like any of these different programs where you could kind of build your own video games,
Whoa, I know that's really
Yeah, I had no idea.
It was it was definitely a fun job to have as like, I was like 18, so.
cool. Where was that, you said?
It was kind of all over these different places, I worked for this one like parent company, but we would go to different like community colleges and stuff, and like work out of there during the summertime, you know. So there's like summer classes for kids that go down like at Brookdale, you know. I did. We would do like the sort of game design ones. Then there's like other companies that run like art classes and stuff like that, you know.
They kind of do the same thing a little bit.
Yeah.
Right. That's sick.
Yeah, we do all the game design stuff. So it's sort of, you know, I was like, well, I learned music, you know, and I do guitar and stuff, so I may as well try to teach guitar if I have this background in teaching, you know. But there was definitely like I had to adapt a little bit because I had only done this sort of classroom instruction. So you're doing the one-on-one stuff. It's like it's very different, you know. You really gotta have a more directive like approach to it, you know.
I had no idea that you were doing video game design ever. What got you into that? Like,
it was actually a company that like when I was transitioning from like being in school studying math to like studying music, you know, I wound up like coming back home from the college that I was going to, which was Rowan. I came back home and I was going to Brookdale, you know, and that was like the company that my dad had worked for, but he did like multimedia production. So he did like a whole different, he wasn't an instructor there. He worked in the office. And he was like, yeah, I work for this company that every summer, like they hire on new instructors to teach these courses, and they'll train you in the course and they give you free access to the software. So I was like, oh man, that sounds great. I'm coming home from school right now. It's like just about to be summertime. So I'm like, let's do it, you know? And I wound up doing that for like maybe 3 or 4 years. And it was cool. Like I definitely like, I learned a lot from it, and it was great work experience because I was just working the, you know, straight for that whole time before I found the whole luthiery thing, you know? But then, yeah, when I went out to AZ, I was like, I have a little bit of experience teaching, so, you know, if there's anybody who needs guitar lessons, I definitely, you know, can figure that out, I guess, you know? And then since then, I've had like a lot of, like dozens of students, I guess, so like I've been able to really hone the process, you know? I feel like I've come a long way since my first couple students, which I probably just was like running them too hard, you know?
Yeah.
Just like learn this song exactly like this, but it's like, you know, it's a stepwise process. So now I start people off with like, you know, easier stuff. And if they want to learn something that I feel is out of their scope, then I'm like, let's learn this other thing that will help us get there, you know, or let's learn this easier version of that so that you're not trying to focus on complicated chord shapes, getting your hands used to the guitar, playing in time, and, you know, like all these nuances.
Right.
It's like, let's just do these easy chord shapes for now, and you can build up your rhythm, you can build up your hand strength, you know, and we can learn the, you know, more intricate parts later when you've got this down. You know?
Right. Yeah. A little while ago, I've had like, I dabbled in like teaching music a little bit. I had like 2, 3 students, and it didn't really go well, didn't really go further and stuff. And I think it was for that very same reason. So now like
starting off with too much.
Yeah. Or at least like explaining it in the way that makes sense to me, but that obviously doesn't do anything, because the whole point of teaching is trying to get someone who doesn't understand it to understand it. That's why with Jack, like Jack, you're obviously not like a student of mine, but sometimes when I teach like bass stuff, like I'm going really
a teacher of mine.
I'm going really slow. Like I'm just like, because like there'll be times you ask me like, why is that like that? I'm like, don't ask that question right now.
Like, don't fucking worry about
it. You later. Don't worry about it.
It's a can of worms that you don't want to open.
But yeah, no, I definitely get that, you know, and like I said, it was for sure something that I had to adapt to, you know, and each student is different, you know, teaching music when you are working with somebody individually, half of it is just like feeling out where they're at and trying to understand what they're really grasping, you know, like I could tell you in words that make sense to me how this works, but if that doesn't work for you, then I'm going to have to find a way to rephrase it and stuff, you know, and I think that that's what really makes a teacher. Like somebody who's good at something won't necessarily be the best teacher at it, you know. All these great guitar players are like almost incapable of bringing it down to a basic level, you know. But the important thing, more so than wherever you're at with your individual skill level, is being able to interpret it into like different ways, So I could try to explain it in a very basic way, whatever the topic is, But you also have to be able to readjust that if somebody doesn't get it. And it's like, okay, instead of that, look at it this way. So if you are limited to one way of explaining something, then it's all going to fall apart the second you get a new student,
Right.
It definitely makes you think of music in another way.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah. On the topic of teaching, were you ever in a position or ever thought about having like a luthier apprentice?
I don't know if I'm at a level with that stuff where I could really do that. I mean, I've taught some people like some of my tips and tricks and everything, but it would be hard to take on an apprentice because it's like I wouldn't be able to like pay them,
Right.
I'd be like, yeah, I mean, you will be gifted the gift of knowledge, and if you want to like sit with me while I do work that I'm getting paid for, then, be my guest. But yeah, it's just like, I haven't really gotten that to a level where I could take somebody on, to share business with, but I'd for sure be interested in that. I did have one student that I taught like repairs things just for himself, because he was going to a music school and he was going to like study guitar at like Berkeley or something. So he was like, I don't need guitar lessons. Like, I'm a fucking child prodigy. I was like, yeah, you are, dude. You're dope. And he was like, but when I get there, I want to be able to take care of my stuff and make sure that it's all good. And honestly, charge the other kids at Berkeley who all brought their guitars, He's like, I'm the only one who knows how to change pickups and do setups. Then I'm the guy, So yeah, I had him for a couple weeks where I would meet with him once a week and show him how to do different stuff like that,
Facts. It seems like a hard thing to like kind of, I guess, like teach in depth without like a long span of time to do. Like,
yeah, and it always depends on the job too. There are certain basics that it would be easy for me to show somebody how to do, but then there's other things where it's like the only way to learn how to do this is to do it. You know? So we gotta have a guitar that we can just refret, and you might not want to do that with like your go-to guitar that you have at home, because the first couple times probably won't be at a professional level, So it's like, I could show you how to refret a guitar, but first you're going to have to get a junk guitar, to practice on.
Right. Yeah.
That's like, I have a lot of junk guitars at my house right now. So I guess, maybe it could happen,
I remember, not many years ago, but like a little while ago, before I even thought about getting the job where I have now, I went to the very same place that I work, but it was like,
what job?
The job at the place.
The job of the
job at the place. But very same store, very same place, maybe like a year and a half, I'd say, or 2 years maybe before I like went in there to actually get like the job I have now. I went in and I spoke to the store leader and I was like, hey, like, I want to, I was like, do you guys have like,
shit, I'm gonna have to
do your like guitar techs are any, like interested in like taking an apprentice of like or anything like that, or any like positions like that open? And they were like, nah, we got some like big boy dudes in here like who went to like school specifically for luthier things. And I was like, cool, I'm a dip. And so it's like, no, they can't do that. We got like stuff that needs to get done, so bye. And I was like, all right then.
It would be tricky for me to do that at work, yeah, because a lot of times
you have stuff you have to get done.
Like, yeah, it's true. There's just customers to take care of and stuff,
And they'd have to be getting paid like legally, probably, if they're working.
It's better if you're like a private practice like luthier who does like commission stuff, because then you can be like, yeah, they got this commission and I told the dude to expect it in like a couple of months or something like that. I can show you this process and how it's done, so definitely private practice is the way to go.
One question that I wanted to double back to is you were talking about the video game design.
Yes, I want to go back to that too.
I'm a fucking avid nerd. Joe earlier played a tiny sound clip from this game that I've played a lot of, and I was like, oh, that's this character's ultimate ability. Okay.
You could say the kids. Who's Dota? Who's
I was
Dota
like, oh, that's Bloodseeker's ult. Like, yeah, there you go.
Nice.
But so do you like? Were growing up, were video games a big thing for you?
I definitely had the ones that I was into. I wouldn't say that I was like a huge gamer, like comparatively to a lot of the other people that I came across when I was working that job. A lot of those guys were your sort of like textbook gamers. That's like, 10
hours a day.
That's what they're doing all day. Yeah. Or they'll get like super really good at these sort of online and competitive games and stuff, to where they're like, competing in these, these like Smash competitions and stuff like that. And I'd be like, man, like I like those games and I think that all that stuff is cool, but I can't hang with those guys. I can't do that stuff. So, I guess there was always a part of it where even when I was working that job, I still wanted to come home and do music, like once work was over, I was like looking forward to playing my guitar and stuff, So I was more into like the video game music, and I liked making little songs to put behind the games and stuff.
Yes.
And making like 8-bit tracks and stuff like that. But yeah, a lot of those guys were like, they made me understand that even though like I played plenty of video games as a kid, like I was not a gamer by any means,
What were your what games stick out to you from your
that was my
childhood?
question. I don't know, like what are some of your favorite video games from in general?
From when I was young, I was into like Super Smash Melee. That was classic stuff. Like
Staple.
Tony Hawk games like were very tight. Crash Bandicoot was always like near and dear to my heart. I have the Crash Bandicoot tattoos going right now.
Oh my god, you have that's not Aku Aku, that's the other one.
This one is Uka Uka.
Uka
I do
Uka.
have Aku Aku over here.
Oh my god, that's the coolest tattoo I've ever seen. I'm so
that's
happy about that.
That one was like my favorite one. Was like Crash Bandicoot, But yeah, I loved like the Legend of Zelda games because the music was important in those, So it was one where like I always loved the ones that were really music based. More lately though, like I'm into like horror stuff, scary stuff and horror movies and everything. So definitely lately I've been playing more like scary games and zombie games and stuff. Like I love playing video games and being like, oh shit,
Oh yeah.
That's good stuff.
Rad, dude.
Interesting. So another thing that we wanted to talk about that you've mentioned was Arizona.
No doubt.
I've never been happy that one of my friends was moving before, but I'm definitely very happy for you because I know you have this deep connection with that place, and
it is a special place.
Beautiful scenery out there. What to you? So like you talked briefly about like being into hiking and stuff like that.
For sure.
When did you really tap into that? Like growing up.
That was after I got out there.
So it was like something you found
Arizona,
later,
for school, and it just was like there's a lot of wilderness out there, So school was in Phoenix, but we had off on the weekends, and it was like whenever you guys are not here, please go out and explore Arizona because there's a lot more to offer than downtown Phoenix, So I was like, oh, cool, let's see what that's all about. And I had this like book of like things to do in Arizona, And so I see one of them is like Mount Humphreys, the tallest mountain in Arizona. And I was like, let's do it. I'm a fit guy. I can do hikes, And I get a couple of my friends and I'm like, dude, I'm going to do a road trip. I'll drive you guys. We'll go to Flagstaff, which is like 3 hours north of Phoenix. And I'm like, we'll do this mountain. We'll do this sweet hike and it'll be dope, So we go up there. We start doing this hike. Very shortly into it, I'm like, this is really hard, dude. Like, I am not prepared for this at all, It's like the tallest mountain there. So it's like an 11-mile hike, like round trip, And it takes like, when I finally eventually did it years later, it took me 7 hours to do. So it's like, no joke. This is how people wind up getting themselves injured, just because they go into that stuff without knowing what they're going into, People don't bring enough water and stuff. So pretty quickly into the first time I'm doing it with my two friends, we were like, yeah, this is way too intense, dude. Like, let's just find a spot to chill out, have a little picnic, and then we got to turn back. Because, like, sun was going down and stuff. Did not have enough time, you know? So that kind of was, like, the first, like, real hike that I did. Like, I've done walks and stuff here in Jersey. I've never done, like, a real long hike, like, way out in the wilderness with sweet overlook views and stuff. Like, that was the first time. But, like I said, it was too hard. So I knew that I had to kind of work up to, you know, accomplishing those goals. And then I started to find like smaller, shorter hikes in the area. And I did a few of those, and it was like so much fun, you know. And my favorite thing was like getting out away from the city, away from the people, you know, and going to like a little overlook on a cliff and just like being by myself or like doing a little meditation, you know. It's like the most serene thing, you know. So after I started to get into it a little bit, then I was like bumping up the intensity, and I was trying to do longer, like more crazy hikes, you know? And so now I have like a couple of those under my belt, and I'm trying to get into like backpacking, you know, where I just got everything I need in my one backpack, and I could take a walk just for a whole weekend and like be good, you know? And so in my next trip to Arizona, which will be coming up very soon, I'm going to definitely try to incorporate more of those, you know, like longer trips where I'm going like, you know, 20 or 30 mile distances, you know, but over the course of like 2 or 3 days.
Have you done any of those before?
I've done like single night, overnight backpacking trips, you know, where I go to like a destination, camp out there, and then just come back the next day. And it's always been a lot of fun. I mean, like it's a different sort of thing when you're there at night, you know, you're doing these, when you're like off, when you're outside of like where everybody is at during the day, it's like still a little bit more like reassuring, like it'll be easy for them to find me if they needed to, you know, like if I had to call for help or whatever. And there's still more people, like you still might pass people on the trails and stuff, depending on where you go. But once it's nighttime, it's like, this is real now, you know, like we are alone out here. You're not going to see anybody. You'll hear a lot of noises, but they're going to be animals, you know? And so you got to like be prepared for that. And you got to know what to do with like your food and stuff, you know? And Arizona in particular, it's full of a lot of deadly animals, you know?
Yeah, I was about to ask.
And, like mountain lions and scorpions, bears and stuff.
Bro, you got mountain lions down there? That's fucked up.
Yeah, I mean, you know, that's probably the one that like is least likely that you would encounter, you know, they're pretty reclusive sort of, you know, but you definitely could. And if the more remote areas that you go to, the more likely it is to see something that you wouldn't typically see in a populated area, you know, and that's my jam. I try to get away from the people. So it's always like you're running the risk of running into some animal out there, you know. I've definitely seen some like rattlesnakes and stuff on the trail, you know.
Damn. I mean, braver man than I do. Mountain lions are fucking terrifying things.
Yeah,
dude.
so like what do you bring as a mountain lion deterrent?
Well, the main thing is to just make noise.
Yeah.
You know, a mountain lion doesn't want to eat something as big as a person because it's too much of a struggle. Most cats are like trying to sneak up on shit, you know? So if you're like making your presence known and just making noise, you got a fire going and stuff, bigger animals typically will stay away from you, you know? But that's also why you got to tie up your food, you know? 'Cause you don't want them sneaking up on that. So it's really like the small ones that you got to look out for because they're the ones that's easy to look past, you know? Like when I saw the rattlesnake, the one time that it actually was like rattling at me, like, dude, it's a sound that like lives in my head now, you know? I just was walking down the trail like during the day, you know, like, I mean, it was sort of like dusk, like the sun had just gone down. So we still have some sunlight, but you know, I'm like feeling good. I don't even really have my flashlight going yet. And so I'm just like barreling down the trail, like, yeah, who cares, dude? And I stepped really close to this rattlesnake.
Fuck.
And so, you know, he like sees me coming the whole way. I don't see him. He's all coiled up. But as soon as I step too close, he just like jumps up and it's like, you know, he's like hissing and rattling at me, dude. And I like jumped like 6 feet in the air.
Dude,
so, you know,
up and out
those
of
are
your
the things
skin.
you got to look out for because it's like, you know, he knew I was there, dude, but I didn't see him. at all, you know.
Yeah, no,
At least they warn you.
That's
know?
at least the rattlesnake will be like, I'm letting you know to get away from me. But
sure.
the thing that scares me about a mountain lion is not the teeth or the claws. It's that, you know, by the time, if a mountain lion's looking at you, by the time you realize it, it's already too late. Like they'll sneak up on you real easily.
Yeah, and they do like stalk.
Exactly.
Too. So it is a thing where it's like, if you do see one, you know, rest of that trip is canceled. You got to go back to where you're safe. You know,
Right.
even if it means turning around, going back the way you came, it's like there's no messing around with those things. You know, luckily I've never seen one, but they do have them in like the Grand Canyon and stuff. So, you know, if you're going to the visitor center, you probably won't see something like that. But if you're going to do the rim to rim hike, where you go hike through the Grand Canyon, camp out overnight, like halfway down, you know, then you want to be looking out for that kind of stuff because it's very remote and secluded. You know,
I hope you never ever have to see one.
Yeah.
Really do.
I saw a video like, I don't know, last like month or so. I might have shown it to you. I forget. But there was a guy and he like stumbled upon some like little cubs, like mountain lion cubs. And
yeah, that's definitely spooky, dude.
Yeah, and then the mountain,
the mom's not too far away, you know.
Yeah, and so he's like backing up and like it's like pouncing forward and like smacking the ground.
You did show me
yeah. And he's like just backing up like, get the fuck out of here. He's like, go the fuck away. He's like, you don't want to eat me.
It's definitely scary stuff, but it also like makes me feel alive. Like I have this like
are you one of those adrenaline dudes?
Yeah, you know, I definitely need to like go do these hikes where I can like look off the edge of the cliffs and stuff like that, you know. And I like when I see animals on there, even if they are scary. Like when I saw the rattlesnake, I was like, that was dope. And I've told that story 100 times since then, you know. It's like, that's like one of my cool stories from being out there, you know. So I definitely love that stuff, and I like to like go into caves and shit, you know.
Ooh, spelunking.
Yeah, that's like scary stuff too. I mean, most of the caves I've been to in Arizona have been ones that were like heavily trafficked enough that there's nothing in there, right? So you can just kind of go in. It's like no big deal. But when I was doing one of these cross country road trips, I went into this cave in Missouri, and it was like it was totally full of bugs, you know.
Yeah.
And I didn't know until I got in there. And then I'm like, I'm in this cave, I'm walking around, I'm like, this is dope. I go to take a selfie, and like my flash from the camera turns on, and the ceiling of the cave is like completely blanketed in like cave crickets.
Oh.
And so I was like, oh my God, dude, I gotta get out of here. I wasn't sure if like from the flash they were gonna just like start jumping down, like raining down on me, you know? So I was like, I gotta like move slow and get the fuck out of here. You know?
It's like turning the flashlight on in the cave. Bunch of bats.
Yeah,
It's
it was scary, but it was another one where I was like, whew, okay, now my heart's beating and I feel alive. You know?
Got my thrill for the day. I'm going to set up a tent.
No doubt. That was a good one. That was fun.
That's amazing, man. I love that. It's crazy you mentioned you know, being alone out there and stuff, because that's always something I was interested in wanting to do, but I don't know if I can. Most of the time in times of my life where I've been at like the really darkest moments is when I've been alone, and because I really sink into my own head, and I'm very like social, I guess. But I was reading somewhere that humans in general have kind of developed this very like pseudo pack mentality kind of thing, like kind of similar to wolves.
I mean, I feel that,
because like
you can only go for so long by yourself before you really start to like go nuts. It's definitely true.
But now, like a pack of wolves, for example, like when they're making noise, they're comfortable, they're safe. Like when a pack of, like if you're a single wolf and the rest of the pack goes quiet, then everyone gets anxious. Because like it's just like, why is everyone quiet? Like, you know what I mean? So we as humans have the same thing. Like you're at a party, you're drinking beer, you're having a good time, and all of a sudden the room goes dead. It's like who said something fucked up? Like what happened?
Someone's gonna have some anxious thing where they got to be like, so I mean, what's everybody doing? You know?
Exactly.
Yeah. So how you been?
Space. It's true, dude.
Joe, do you have anything else notable that you would like to bring up? I got a couple things but they're like little small guys.
Go ahead, man.
All right. One of the things that like stands out in my mind about you, and like definitely kind of inspired me to do it myself is like, you're one of the only people I know that's like always eating right, or like that I see like whenever you're in the break room eating up your lunch, I'm like, that looks good, and it smells like it would make me feel good.
Yeah.
And, like, you're always eating your vegetables and stuff like that.
Definitely like
you always cooking up good
fitness
stuff.
is like really important to me and to my family and stuff. We just definitely like we're raised that way to be like going to the gym every day and stuff, you know. Since transitioned to a home workout because of all the craziness that's been going down, you know. But
pull up bar right up there.
I'll bang out a few.
I'm not going to a fucking gym.
I was gonna say though, the older that I get, and I guess the older that anybody gets, the more that you realize it's like fitness is so much nutrition, you know. So you can go to gym as much as you want, you know, but until you start eating right, it's like not even gonna matter, you know. Like it's just such a high percentage of it is like what you put into your body, and like, you know, you guys see me like at a good time during the day when I am able to kind of stick with that stuff, you know. But I, you know, I definitely fall apart when I get home.
I saw that Snapchat story, and it's like the first. What did you say? The first part.
The first step
like,
towards recovery
is admitting
you have a problem.
And it was 3 empty bags.
Reese's, you know,
like
Reese's are
like
that's
3
my,
big bags.
That's definitely where, like, that's my weak link, you know. Like, once I get the Reese's, I have to eat them until they're all gone, you know. So I get these like big bags. I'm like, this will last me a week, and it's like, yeah, it lasts
and that shit's gone 2 hours later.
Yeah.
I've fallen into that so many times. I definitely like growing up was the biggest fucking like sugar addict in the world.
Yeah.
And so like as I got older and I like could drive my car to Walmart and like buy some candy, like just as I was driving by after work or whatever, just go fucking crazy, and then I'd be like, oh yeah, like this will last me a while, and then like I eat the whole fucking thing, and I like feel like I'm gonna die.
Yeah, I definitely like can't control myself with the Reese's, you know. Sometimes though, I just like I give into it. I'm just like, listen, I go to work, you know, I do what I gotta do. Like I'm an adult, I can enjoy the things I want to enjoy, you know. But it's definitely, you don't want to go overboard with it. You know? I've been known to do that with the Reese's.
Yeah, that's I mean, talking about like nutrition and health, like I would go to the gym like a shit ton in high school, but I was still like eating like garbage. So, like, yeah, I got like big, but didn't feel good or anything like that. Like I still like felt super shitty. And like recently, like I barely work out. Like I do push-ups and pull-ups every day and like some yoga, but like I just started eating right and like cooking my own food every single day. And it's like ridiculous, like the amount of change that I see in myself. And it's like drop like 20, 30 pounds
just
from
feel too, you know.
Yeah,
it's
eat
like
good, feel good.
It's easier to go hard with the workouts if you're eating right, you know, because you'll feel better, you know. Whereas eating a bunch of sugar is like, you know, it's just gonna make you feel sleepy at the, you know, like once the sugar rush is past, it's just gonna knock you out, you know. And so it's really hard to be like trying to maintain a good like workout routine with a really crappy diet, you know. Not that I haven't, you know, put some hours in trying to do that. But no, it definitely is a game changer when you can kind of just like, you know, figure out the healthy foods that you like and just stick to them, you know.
That's one of the things that I always found interesting about like the concept of like cheat days.
Yeah.
Is like, so you're gonna eat really healthy for 6 days and feel real fucking good, and then you're gonna eat a fucking pie of pizza. And then Monday, when you're going to the gym, you're going to feel like fucking dog shit.
Yeah, no doubt.
And your stomach's going to be turning.
There's like split schools of thought on that stuff. Because I've heard some people say like, you can't cheat on your diet. You know, it's just like, it's counterintuitive. You just can't do it, you know. But then there's other people that are like, you know, you got to have this diet so that you eat right most of the time, you know.
And then you can enjoy.
You don't have to deny yourself the pleasures of being a human, you know. It's like sometimes you just got to have a piece of chocolate cake. It's all good, you know.
Yeah.
We're not all trying to be like Hollywood movie stars, you know. So like it's okay to have a piece of chocolate cake every now and again.
Yeah.
Right. I feel like the concept of cheat days only works on like the two opposite drastic ends of the spectrum. Like if you are someone who's like going to the gym specifically because they want to get into shape or like really like commit to, you know, changing your lifestyle, then a cheat day is probably not gonna work.
Yeah.
But if you're someone who just does, you know, tame workouts, like maybe two times a week, you know, just to, you know, be a little bit in shape and stuff, then like a cheat day, one cheat day a week, or you can just eat a little bit of, you know, whatever you want, is not bad, and like, you know, you do it.
Yeah.
Or on the other end of the spectrum, you're someone who's already in pretty good shape and has already committed, like made that drastic life change, and now it's that crazy workout routine and healthy lifestyle is already in there, and you have a cheat day maybe like once every 4 months or something like that, and like you eat that junk like the day before your rest day, so that way you don't have that situation where you go to the gym the next day and you feel like ass.
It depends too on like who you are, you know, and like what your like self-control is like, you know.
Right.
Because if a cheat day is going to be something that knocks you off the wagon, you know, where it's like now the next day, now I'm going to be craving all that stuff that I got to eat yesterday, then it probably would be something that's better to avoid or keep in a more regulated like moderation, you know. But if you're somebody that's like really strict with yourself and you can be like, yeah, I will allow myself that one piece of chocolate cake, but like that's it.
Right.
Yeah, I'm not going to have a second one, and I'm not going to crave one tomorrow or next week, you know. Then it's like, oh, that's probably not a big deal. You know?
I had a buddy of mine, my old drummer, big like bodybuilder type dude. You know, like a bodybuilder, but he's big lifting dude. He lifts like every day, and he's been doing it forever and stuff. And like, dude's huge, but he like, you know, still eat like, you know, the stuff he eats. Like we're hanging out, you know, drink some beer, eat a couple slices of pizza or whatever. But he told me one time is like, once you get to a certain level of like doing that, then like sometimes, like obviously not all the time, but like sometimes you kind of stop thinking about like the macros, like fats, protein and stuff like that. Like definitely if you're like focusing on muscle and stuff, like he still thinks about like protein and certain carbs and stuff like that. But like if you're doing that transformation, like to change your body or whatever, then you got to think about that. But at a certain point, like you just start thinking about calories, because when you do like such intensive workouts, like it's like that number of calories is simply a unit of fuel for me to like use and stuff. So that's why dudes like The Rock, for example, like the famous Rock cheat day that I'm sure you've heard about.
I'm not familiar.
Have you not know about The Rock's like big cheat day?
No, what
he has one
about?
Like The Rock has one cheat day a year, and
that must
dude,
be fucking glorious.
dude goes hard, my man. Like he eats a fuck ton of pancakes.
Must feel like shit the
and
next
like
day.
He's a big guy too.
Oh my god! But see, that's the thing. The dude like The Rock is way up there to where it's like all of that is just calories, and like he will shred that
it's
shit.
Not even just that he's such a big dude, you know, but it's also that like the amount of calories that a guy who does workouts that are that intense burns in a day.
Exactly.
Is so many, you know. Like Michael Phelps was not nearly as big as The Rock. He's like a slim guy,
Right.
but he would eat thousands of calories
Exactly.
in a day. He would
Because
eat
he uses
like
it.
5,000 calories a day or
5
something.
or 6,000. Ridiculous shit.
You know what's fascinating? If I don't know if either of you guys have ever like kind of looked into it, but like professional eating is like, I know everyone. Yeah, like everyone
eating
knows.
competition, like
ASMR stuff where people are just like eating a cupcake in a microphone.
No. A lot of the only thing about it, like that people know, is like the Nathan's hot dog competition or whatever.
Oh,
but
yeah, okay, true.
but there it goes like beyond that. There are,
there's some like crazy fucking shit that people can do.
yeah, exactly. But you'll see this dude who's like really skinny or at least just kind of lean and cut, and they're like, yeah, I'm gonna eat like all of this food in like under 30 minutes, and the calorie count is like 10,000 calories.
Yeah,
and they can do that.
but then that guy's gonna like, you know, throw up,
Not
his
walk
brains
for
later,
3
dude.
days.
But like they'll be like, yeah, that's like the only thing they eat for the rest of for like that entire 24-hour period, and then they go to the gym and they can just do workouts that burn all those calories. It's just like really weird stuff at how the body works.
It is crazy. But yeah, the guy who used to like always win the hot dog eating contest, there was a guy who was like reigning champ for a few years in a row. He was like totally like a skinny like Japanese guy, you know.
Yeah, I
like,
saw
He just
saw,
was
like,
slurping him down. dude. It was
documentary
crazy.
about that dude. You know, a lot of the times too, I think they say that it's like they don't like starve themselves beforehand, because if they do that, their stomach like starts to
Will-
shrink.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so like they're eating the day before and like day of and shit.
yeah, they'll eat
which is like wild.
I think it depends. Like they'll eat the day before, but then like
That would
I guess
make
it
me feel
depends
so
on
sick.
it depends on like I guess what time the competition
I
starts.
could
but
probably eat
yeah.
a total of like 4 hot dogs.
Bro, I can only
I don't
eat.
think I could eat. Like,
I don't think I could eat one anymore. It wouldn't make me like the bun would
yeah,
just
fair enough.
fuck my body.
I can only eat one, dude. Probably maybe 2. I don't know.
Yeah, you're
Music
talking,
podcast, talk about
Yeah,
food.
yeah. So back from that little tangent. The one other thing, because I mean, I can hear it in your music, and I know you as a person, right?
Fair enough.
If you'd like to talk a little bit about one
Here
of
it
my
is.
favorite subjects, one of Joe's
Here it is.
least favorite subjects.
It's not my least favorite subject. It's kind of fascinating that you bring it up every episode.
Fair.
Go ahead, do it.
Psychedelics.
Yeah, there it is.
Do we want to open that can of worms?
I mean, that definitely is a can of worms, you know? I've opened it before. Definitely have opened it. And I've certainly benefited from the sort of creative inspiration that you can get from opening that can of worms, you know? Yeah, I mean, you know, I think that like there's a finite amount to what you can get from that kind of thing, you know? So like the idea in experiencing something like that is not like to experience it all the time, you know? But I definitely think that the occasional rewiring of your brain is like, you will learn stuff about yourself, you know? Like you will learn new things about like how you choose to do things and like ways that you can do things, you know? And I've for sure benefited from that in like the musical directions that I've taken, you know?
Something I'm always curious to find out is like how you tapped into that. What do I call it? I guess mini like society kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know, like that club.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question. I mean, like the times that I was able to find that kind of stuff for myself, you know, I just like I was like, you know, I would kind of like find like the best time and place to do it, you know, where it's like I'll be uninterrupted during this time, like I can be here and be safe and not have crazy shit going on or random people coming through, you know. And yeah, I would definitely like let my mind go wherever it's going, but also music is a big part of it, you know. Like you got to keep the right music going, you know, and we listen to the right stuff. So a lot of times I'll have my guitar with me. It's like it's almost like a crutch, like grounds me to the real world, you know. And I'll jam along to the music. If I got nothing else to like another avenue that I'm going down in my head or something, then it is what it is. But definitely if I'm like, all right, need to get grounded back to the real world, then I'll just like focus on the music, you know? So I've definitely had plenty of jams, you know, sort of trippy jams where I was just improvising along with some song or trying to just learn it by ear, you know, and found kind of a new thing about guitar that stood out to me that I was like, wow, I didn't even realize that if you play this in this way, that's the sound that it makes, you know?
Yeah. Do you have any, like off the top of your head, songs out or coming out that were inspired by like an experience like that?
That's kind of like what The Secret is about, actually. Like that's almost like what The Secret is, you know? Is like it's got this trippy inspiration to it, you know? But it was like without that, I don't know if I ever would have come up with that song, you know? But listening to it, it's like you can't necessarily tell. But I definitely like wrote the main riff of that song like during a trippy experience, you know, psychedelic experience. And, you know, I definitely really enjoyed like making that and then coming out of it, you know, like obviously it's too much work to really do that kind of thing, like record a song,
Yeah.
you know, like, at that time.
That's a lot.
Yeah, so
You gotta just like
so
put a
took
voice
the
memo and be
inspiration
like-
from it. I remember like what it was, and then when I got the opportunity, I recorded it, and I was kind of going from a thing of like, if I was in that state of mind again, would I enjoy listening to this? You know, because there are certain things that I like a lot normally, but if I'm in a psychedelic mood, I'm like I said, I like horror movies and stuff. It's not like I want to take some mushrooms and watch a horror movie.
No.
That would be a no-go.
Awful.
That's a bad idea.
Bad.
Kids,
Miserable idea.
Don't do
Yeah,
it.
do not.
So, you know, some of the that's where some of the inspiration is. It's like, being that I know what it's like to experience that, you know, it's like, would I enjoy this in that state of mind, you know? And that's kind of where like The Secret came from. Like, that's what that one is, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Not all of those songs, but definitely that song in particular.
So I guess my description as psychedelic was accurate.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, there you go. Homework for all the listeners. Eat some mushrooms and watch a scary movie.
No. We do not advocate drug use on this podcast, Jack.
You won't do it.
Don't do it, dude.
No, I'm kidding. Jokes.
You get us sued.
Yeah.
But everyone should.
Grandma, if you're listening, do it.
Yeah, grandma should do it. Everyone should go listen to The Secret by Lee
Yes.
Ferejohn.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Do you have anything else, Joe?
No, I think that's pretty much it for me.
Lee, do you have anything that we didn't talk about that you would like to talk about?
Yeah, anything you just want to spit the shit about? It's just kind of the point of a podcast.
What's on your
is
chest right now?
just wanna,
You got
we just
So I got
gab-
I got 2 tattoos, that's what.
Nah, I mean, you know, I'm feeling pretty good. I talked about all the aspects of my life, every single one, in
We did.
depth.
Really? Yeah.
That's all. There's nothing else, you know. Then I'll be telling you about, like, yeah, sometimes I drive, put my shoes on, you know, do laundry.
Sometimes I tie them.
Never, dude. I just tie them once and then I leave them like that forever.
That's what I do too.
With
most of my shoes.
I
There's 2
used to
pairs
do
I
that. I can't believe that little comment brought up a funny story. I used to do
Nice.
that. I know so many people who do that, and I'm usually like, when me and a group of friends are going out the door to go somewhere, I'm usually the last person out because I got to put my shoes on and tie them up because I tie my shoes really tight. And
it will stretch out the shoe. It's true. It's if you don't do that, you know.
oh well, the reason why I stopped doing that is because back when I was younger and a bit of a rapscallion, and I was hanging out with some friends, we were in a park and we were like doing a substance we should not have been doing. We were smoking
As
weed.
young kids do.
Yeah, and
which we now advocate because it's legal.
that's you smoke it if you want. Who cares?
It is legal now, so go smoke some weed. I can legally say that. I think. I think.
Pretty sure, yeah.
Maybe. Hopefully.
You can go do it
It's
if you
cool.
want.
Don't come
It's
after
cool.
me.
But
We just tight.
we got the flashlights popped on us real quick, and we got chased down. And what really sucked is that it was kind of muddy. But since I had like the shoes just only a little bit tied, so I can slip them on and off, shoe flew right off me while I was booking it from the 5-0, and that was that
See,
sucked.
man,
So now I don't want that to ever happen again, even though I'm never going to be in that
Yeah.
That
situation.
makes sense.
I
You
mean,
never know.
as we were just talking about it, I did think to myself, it'd probably be smart to tie them tight in case you ever had to run.
Exactly. That's what I
You
was
know?
saying. Like, I'm never going
Yeah.
to be in a situation where I have to run from a police. So at least
Yeah, but
I
you
hope
never
not.
know. You may have to run from like
Anything.
like a scary monster. or
Yeah.
something.
Exactly.
Who
You know,
knows? You ever see Cloverfield? I mean,
Bro,
it could happen.
it could happen, dude.
It could.
If I
Possibility.
have to run for any reason, I don't want my shoe flying off.
No doubt. It checks out.
So the one last thing that I wanted to propose to you or ask you was a little bit about like the times that we're living in right now, both with COVID and just the general
Era of humanity.
where society is right now.
True.
And I know like a lot probably that helps you get through it is music
No
and
doubt.
nature. But
Definitely, hiking and stuff is big too, for sure.
so like what advice would you give to people to stay focused and like keep it together and not lose your sanity in this crazy age of technology and
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a
everything.
crazy world out there right now, you know. But like the only thing that I could say, because I think that like a lot of us, there's definitely times during this where I feel like I'm like hanging out by a thread, So like, I wouldn't say that I'm like the first go-to guy for like, oh, you should do what I do, and then you
Yeah.
won't even worry about it. It's like I'm worried about it all the time. You
Yeah.
know? I'm worried about what the future's going to be like, and if it's going to be a world worth bringing kids into and stuff like that. Like I get worries as much as the next guy about what's happening. But all I can say is like, just try to stay focused, I guess, on like what it is you care about. Because whatever you think you got can easily be ripped away very quickly, as we've seen in this last year, So you just have to create for yourself the world that you want to be living in, It's like if you allow yourself to become a product of your environment, then it's really easy to be unhappy with what's going on, But, whatever you have control over, it's like throw yourself into that, Whatever it is you're passionate about, go do that, go make it happen, because you only got like this one time. It's a short amount of time that we got to do it, That's why I'm going to AZ, go make it happen.
Yes, sir.
So
There we have it.
there we have it. Create for yourself the world you want to live in. I love that's what that'll stick with me.
Nice.
Thank you so much for coming. I'm
It was a great time, man.
Thanks for having me, you guys.
greatly saddened that you will be temporarily not in my day-to-day life, but I am also very happy.
We'll be in touch, though.
Yes,
Be in
we will.
touch. And you gotta come visit because it'll be dope.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
It will happen.
I haven't really known you for
I'm gonna make it a road. It'll be a nice road
nice
trip.
road trip. Yeah,
A nice road trip.
For sure.
I haven't known you for too long, Lee, but I'm sad that I won't get to know you more on the day-to-day basis as you go. But I'm very happy for you and wish you nothing but the best fortune out in AZ.
Thank you. Appreciate it, you guys. And thanks for having me. It was definitely a good time.
Of course, I will miss dearly my lunch buddy.
True. I'll be just a snap away, dude.
Oh yeah. So, my friends, my family, hopefully at this point not my family, because you might not like the things that we talked about at the end, but whatever. Check out Lee. Your Instagram is Music of Leander.
Music of Leander. That's me. Yeah.
Correct.
You can probably
Keep
include
your-
a little link.
Yeah, no, I'll have it all there.
We'll throw it up.
Keep your eyes open for House Punch.
For sure.
Correct. And check out the breakdown. Secrets EP. It's out on Bandcamp. Check it out. If you like it, download it. It's like what, $5? Help support, That's all we got. So signing off. Thank you if you're here. I love
Yes,
you.
indeed.
Classic.
Test. Tickles. Tests. Test tickles.
Locals only podcast featuring
Testicles.
Jack and Joe.
I've actually thought about that before.
What's
We should do that, like an episode of us like interviewing each other.
I was thinking about that the other day,
Yeah.
and I was like, I don't know. That kind of defeats the purpose of the show.
It'd be better than these fucking weirdos that we keep. You're like this guy over
That'd
here.
be cool, and it'd still be cool, like, if there's ever a time when the bookings like slow down a little bit, and it's like, you know what, we'll just take a little break here, interview each other, see what's up.
Yeah.
We're always asking everybody else, but no one's asking you. Yeah. Right. How are you, Jack? How are you doing?
We could always just have an episode of.
How are you guys doing?
We can just have an episode of two of us just talking about shit.
True that, dude. The beauty of the podcast,
The beauty of the podcast is that we own it and no one can tell us what the fuck to do.
True that. You can say whatever you want. I'm going to say it. All right, I'm saying it into the mic. Everyone's going to hear it.
Yeah, exactly. And then if
Fart.
you think about it and you're like, I
Said
shouldn't
it.
have said that, you just cut it out, delete it.
I don't even want to cut it. I want everyone to know that I said fart right here in this room.
Everyone will know.
I know. That's why.
Oh, we're recording? Hell yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
That's on there.
There's no taking it back now.
No.
This is controversial stuff.
It's not safe for work stuff.
True that. Can't show anybody at the unnamed place where we all work.
We don't work anywhere.
We don't work anywhere.
True.
I live
Same.
off the podcast.
Same.
Oh,
Joe's like, you what?
I'm very happy.
I want money. Alrighty.
We've had less and less of those situations come up.
Okay. So, let me just chickadee check myself before I wreck myself. Okay. We all good? Anyone need to pee?
I'm good.
I'm set.
Bladders are expunged.
I'm all
For now.
I'm all good, dude. I'm dried up.
Oh, well, I'm wet, so.
All right. Well, it sounds like it's time to get started then.
Alrighty.
Let's do it.
Welcome.